Hello, everyone. My name is Mark from the Misplay Podcast, and you're listening to EternalJourney, everyone's favorite Eternal podcast.
Welcome to EternalJourney, the podcast.
Greetings, all my knights and Puntawans. You are listening to EternalJourney, the podcast that talks about all things eternal with a focus on limited play. I'm your host, Jedi, and this is episode 114 of the podcast where we are doing the, you guessed it, that's right, the commons and uncommon set review for Cold Hunt, which is extremely exciting. The set looks to be a ton of fun, so I encourage it. Plus, more hype because we have the modified draft rewards, so 5 wins get you a free draft. It's so good. But, of course, as usual, joining me on the podcast are my good friends and definitely better players at Limited than I am, John Julio and Darth Herman too. But first things first, a little bit of housekeeping. I do encourage you for this episode in particular to watch on the YouTube EternalJourney on YouTube because, I get to show every card that we talk about on the screen for you so you can follow along visually. And then, of course, I want to give a shout out to all of the great supporters of the show. It really does mean a lot to us. Thank you for hanging out with me on Twitch and, of course, contributing to the Discord and whatnot. I want to thank Luchaiza, Gunna116, Miss Taru, Chastity Weaver, Wolvig, No Mortal Coil, I'm So Bad, Fast Cookie, IP Longno, and Karga. Thank you guys so much for the ongoing support. I really do appreciate it. John, you ready to do some sweet start review action?
You know it. Let's get it.
All right, but one last thing we got to do just to make sure everyone knows what's going down is we're going to give a grading scale. We do this so we kind of, after our discussion, which you tend to find out, we'll be like, this card is horrible. No, this card is great, blah, blah, blah. And then we both give it the same grade. So it kind of gives you a kind of like a stamp of approval, kind of where we sit on the card. Of course, this is subject to adjustments based on where you are in your draft and format dependent, etc., etc. But this is kind of like our best case vacuum grade on it. So starting off with A's, these are our bombs. These are the cards that stabilize you when you are behind or even take you into the winning zone, and or when you are in a stalemate, they allow you to win on the spot. These are cards like Azrog Streetbreaker and Guardian Angel, 5/5 flyers and a 6/4 that just has all the keywords and beats on it. Yeah! John.
Yeah, we got the B's. Those are cards that either actively pull you into a color or like premium removal. Cards like Overthrow and Behold the Truth.
C's are the body of the deck. The pawns are limited, if you will. These are the cards that you just include in all your decks. They're not very fancy, but they kind of get the job done. Things like Genius Combatant and Freight Azri.
Then you got your D's, last inclusions or last cuts. Rather not play them. And these are cards like Rolling Fog and Last Line Defender.
Then we have the F's. These are the cards that are either focused on constructed or they're just straight up unplayable and limited. You don't want them in your deck in any form or fashion. These are cards like Reset the Day and Diplomatic Immunity.
Yeah, and then sometimes we give a build-around rating. And those are, cards that are bad alone, but better when focusing hard on drafting their synergies, like Recruitment Effort and Ring of Glamour.
And then finally, not a category that's really going to matter in this set, or in the last set for that matter, but it's market cards. These are cards that inherently aren't that good. They have a very specific niche cause that they're very good at. So these are cards you want to typically put in your market to pull into the game whenever the situation arises. Something like, just kill a flying unit or destroy all attachments, things like that. Once again, that's not really a thing that's going to come up in this format as we've gone over everything and there's no market access whatsoever. I mean, I guess there's Windvoking, but that's going to go in your hand anyways. So, yeah, I guess that's it. So, without further ado, let's jump on into it.
Let's go.
All right, we're going to start off with Fire. First one up is Warning Shot. This is a 0 red spell. Inscribe, which is the new mechanic, and deal 1 damage. Okay, Inscribe. Inscribe pretty much means that you can, instead of playing this card for what its face value is, you can play it as a depleted power of its respective faction. So Warning Shot ends up being a depleted Fire Sigil. Or you can play it for 0 and have it deal 1 damage. John, Let's start off with you, my man. Start off strong with the skill set. What do you think of Warning Shot?
Yeah, for such a weak looking card, this is fine. It makes decks because of the inscribe. So I think the rating is a little difficult in this set. I think a lot of the average power level of cards is relatively high, I think. So I give Warning Shot like a C minus because I'd rather have like an average unit over this, but like as your deck building goes on, you got to keep doing an inscribe card check as you're drafting, and so inscribe goes up in value as you're getting later and you don't have them. And this one's quite playable, just to ping something. Sometimes it'll kill something. um and it's just a power otherwise. So yeah, C minus.
Okay, what about you, Alex?
Yeah, right there with you. It's like the lesser of the common inscribes. I'd way rather have a Molten Feet, but yeah, it makes
Mhm.
a lot of decks for sure. But I'm right there with John, C minus.
Yeah, I'm on D. I just feel like 1 damage is just not even worth putting a card in your deck, even if it can be power. Like, rather just meh. So I'm on D, but I mean, I feel like we're all saying the same thing. So move on.
Yep.
Next one is going to be Accordion. This is a +1/+1 weapon for 1 and a red. Contract 1, exhaust an enemy unit with less attack or strength than the wielder. And contract means that you have to pay the 1 extra power now. And if not, you go into debt, which means you would have to pay it on the beginning of your next turn or as soon as you have the power available. So, of course, this could be either 1/1/1 or quote unquote 2 in the installation or installment plan, and you get to exhaust something. But it does have to have the attack less than the wielder, not equal to. So a 2/2 has to be. You have to have a 2/2 at minimum to exhaust a 2/2. John.
No, it's after the stat buff from the weapon. So
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. You would need at least a 2/2 to exhaust a 2/2. Sorry, I'm
right,
maybe
yes, exactly.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and so you didn't mention this exactly, but contract is also optional.
Oh, thank you.
So
Yes, you're right. You're right.
yeah, you don't just go in debt without wanting to. There was some bugs, but they fixed those. So accordion, I don't like this card, but I see its value, and it's a weird one. It's kind of like a build around of sorts. I'm not gonna give it a build around grade, but this is an accordion deck is like a thing. It's like a very aggressive deck, a lot of 1 and 2 drops, and you play a lot of these stupid accordions, and so it's you just keep forcing in damage until the opponent's hopefully dead before they can stabilize. So they work best in multiples. I just have trouble committing to this strategy, I think. So I don't know, just as a card, it's I don't know, D or something for me. But I've seen some people go off with these accordions, honestly.
Yeah, it's a D for me as well. I just +1/+1 is not enough. The exhaust is situational. Maybe if there was renown in the format, maybe I would like it a little bit more. But as is, at best, you're putting on a Valor unit. Yeah, no, I don't like it. Alex?
D.
All right, fair enough. Moving on, Alex, you could take point on this one. This is Battlefront Dasher. This is a 2/1 Oni for 1 and a red at uncommon. Contract 2. So once again, like John mentioned, you could pay 2 right away when you put 2 extra when you play this right away. 2 on the subsequent turn if you have the available mana or power, or just not pay it at all. And it gives a unit +1/+1 and charge. Notice how it says a unit, so it does not necessarily have to be itself, but it can be. All right, Alex, what do you think of Battlefront Dasher?
Yeah, all these uncommon contract to give something else an ability are pretty good. Give it to itself. This is the one that giving it to itself in an aggressive deck, it can be quite good. You can get 6 damage in before your opponent even has a chance to play a unit. It's also good in a deck that's not quite as aggressive. You can give the charge something else. So I like this guy quite a bit. I give it a C+.
Nice. Yeah, I'm right there with you. C+ for all the right reasons. John?
Yeah, same grade. And there's a lot of kind of cards that go along with these cards that give abilities to cards, because there's revenge in the format. There's a really good one at common in red we'll talk about later. When you give that one charge, it comes back with charge right after they've killed it, and it comes back. So that's it's kind of scary to do things like that with it. So yeah, it even has some good synergy in the format in various colors. So C+ for me as well.
Comes back with a vengeance. Dun, dun, dun. Next up, we have Bullseye. I like the artwork on this one. Bullseye is a 1 and a red fast spell. And then you have 2 modes you can choose from. 1, deal 2 damage to an enemy unit or site. Or kill an enemy relic with cost 2 or less. Yeah, this card is good. I think this is man, it's essentially a char, right? So I think a char at best is a C plus. Like I thought about B minus because it's flexibility, but kill an enemy relic with a cost 2 or less. I mean, I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anything that screams out to me in this format right now where that's completely busted. So I think this is just a C plus. Very efficient removal. The sight part really isn't going to come into play, though. The sight in this format is 1 health. So I guess there's that, or 1 durability. So whatever. This is a C plus for me, John.
It's like a C minus for me, just because of the breakpoint of 2 damage, and it can't go face. I think there's better cards that deal 2, and then there's a common that's deal 4 for 2 mana. It's slow, but that just kills so much more things you care about. And I literally can't think of an example in this limited format where you care about the relic cost 2 or less. Like the one you see most commonly is 3 cost Brigade Hall. So
Yep. Alex, what do you think?
Maybe we can meet in the middle. I had it at a C. I really like, with a lot of contract around, all the contracts that you're paying, that having cheap interaction left over, because a lot of times you're left with just like 1 or 2 power, and like Bullseye gives you that even after a contract turn. So I do like it. I give it a C.
All right, nice. C for Bullseye. Next up, Dangerbot is a 1/1 Grenadine for 2 and red. It has Revenge, and then when the enemy player takes non-battle damage, Dangerbot gets +1 strength. So it starts off as a 1/1, you ping your opponent, it becomes a 2/1, you, I don't know, backlash them, it becomes a 3/1, etc., etc. Me, not very impressed with this card. Kind of plays into maybe like the Stone Scar sack deck, but even then I think there's better 2-drops than that. Alex, what do you think?
Pre-bug C minus, post-bug D, I guess. Like I don't like this card. Like
John?
Like last case scenario.
yeah, it was a nightmare last week, but they fixed it. I think it's just like a D for me.
Yep, I'm with you guys. D for Dangerbot. All right, here we go. Grenadine Rescue is a 2 red spell. Play 2 1/1 Grenadines and deal 1 damage to the enemy player. John, what do you think of this little guy?
Yeah, I think it's slightly better than that last card we just mentioned, just because you get 2 bodies and it immediately deals a ping. But I think it's, it doesn't have a high power level, but it goes up when you have like multiple of the captains in your deck that kind of buff each unit's attack power. Then it can get a little scary, like with a little go wide support. But just as a card, like D plus.
Okay, fair. What about you, Alex?
A little bit higher, I guess, C minus, just because it's not hard to get it to work with the Calderon Captain that John mentioned, and then also it breaks face ages, which there's a lot of, and that's a good way to do it. So yeah, I'll give it a C minus.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm on C minus with this card. At the base level, it's a 2/2, right? For 2, which is serviceable. Sometimes having it across multiple bodies is a little bit better. So yeah, I think it's fine. I think a C minus is fine. D might be a little harsh, but I like the aggressive stance we're taking on this format. No slackers. Next up, we have Jeering Yeti. Is a 3/1 Yeti at uncommon for 2 red. Inscribe. So once again, you could choose to play this as a depleted fire sigil. When the enemy player plays a spell directly on 1 or more of your units, create and draw a power burst. This is just a C minus, right, Alex?
Sure, C minus. Maybe a little bit higher C. The power bursts sometimes when decks that you're playing 15 power a lot of times can help you get your bigger things out. So it's pretty easy to get a power burst off this guy, and C minus for me.
Yeah, like the Inscribe makes it a little bit better, but like if you need a 2-drop, you play it, and if not, it becomes power to help you get up to your power. But the rest of the card is kind of borderline irrelevant, right, John?
I mean, a 3/1 for 2 is just a C, right? And this has like text. I still think it's a C because like inscribe might as well not be there. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know why
yeah,
you
for
would ever
sure.
inscribe this, because like if you play it and they get rid of it, you get a power burst anyway. Like, I guess if you're doing need some like crazy red influence for some reason, maybe. But no, it's just a 3/1 for 2, which is like that's a good stat line for this format as well, just like it was for the last format. But there's commons in packs 2 and 3 right now that have Valor for the same stat line. I think that's like
Yeah.
a C+. I think this is just a C.
No, yeah, you're right. As soon as you mentioned, I was thinking Valor. I'm just a little skeptical about X1s because they apparently have always incorporated so many ways of getting rid of them fairly easily, right? And Invoker's still in the format, but you're right. The fact that Valor is still in the format, a 3/1 sometimes is even better than a 2/2. So fair enough. We'll go Jeering Yeti at a even C. Says you're right. A 3/1 for 2. It's not my preferred, but all right. This card, I'm just gonna go ahead and give a B to because I think this card is super efficient and 95% of the time trades up on mana or power. Searing Fist is a 2 fire spell. Deal 4 damage to an enemy unit. It doesn't go face, but I mean this is just great, right? Play a 2-drop. And then kill something. This thing, like I said, it trades up on power very easily, killing 3 and 4 drops, sometimes even 5 drops, depending on what they play in the format, right? The 5/4 stealth unit is still in the format, as well as Alchemist. Like touching on what Alex said, when you play something with debt and you have it, this allows you to still play something efficient. Yes, it's not fast, so it's rarely going to get you 2 for 1 or use as a combat trick, but man, this is great in the aggressive decks and the defensive decks. So I like this card quite a bit. Alex, what do you think of Searing Fist?
Straight up B, rock solid removal.
John?
Same grade, nothing to add. It's great.
Excellent. Nice. That was one card I picked up with right away. As soon as I saw it in the format, I was like, what? Yeah, I'm taking pretty much every one of these I can.
It's just a common too.
Yeah, it's really solid. It almost puts the brakes on aggressive decks for sure. Well, I guess it helps them get in there as well too. Anywho, next up we have Censari Firebrand. This is a 3/1 Centaur for 3 fire. Valor, contract 2, deal 3 damage to each player. So it doesn't go to units, it goes straight to the face, but it hits your face too. I guess she's like stabbing someone with her spear while kicking the other guy with the hooves or something like that. So 3/1 for 1 at 3, but it has Valor and then comes in and deals some damage. Alex, as our resident aggressive player, what do you think of Censari Firebrand?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a couple Firebrand deaths for the opponent in a very aggressive deck. This is, and it's an okay card. Overall, it's just like a C- though. But yeah.
Okay, fair. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Like it's close to a C because I've also had some sweet finishes with this contract ability. But I don't know. You just kind of hope that your 3 drops are like 3/3s. Like 3/1 Valor, that's like a 2-drop in your deck as well. So it's like it feels a little bad to play this card, but yeah, don't underestimate the contract on it in a racing situation. But yeah, C-.
Yeah, I'll go with C- as well. It does give you some reach. So the back end of it is kind of sweet, but yeah, 3/1 Valor front end is kind of and 3 drops inherently in Eternal are very contested power slots. Like it's very difficult. The bar is set high for sure. Next
this
up,
format's a little weird with it's like really hard to get good early cards for your decks, period. Like in all colors, it seems like half the time I end up with like oops, all 3 drops deck or whatever.
Yeah.
So
next up, Draconic Looting is a 3 fire spell at uncommon, has inscribe, sweet, and then draw 3 cards. Discard them at the end of your turn. John, is this a value card or is this a trap card?
I think it's fine. It's a good inscribe card if you're playing fire. If you're playing an aggressive deck, your hand is probably empty by the time you play this, and like most of your cards are going to be relatively cheap. So you pay 3, draw 3 cards. One's a power, you can play it. Maybe you got a 1 and 2 drop or something there too. You can play both of those, or maybe you get 1, 2, or 3 drop and have to discard a card. Like that's fine. It's a power that does that in your deck. So the cost is minimal, like the deck building cost, and there's a lot of upside. And then like it has additional value if you're in some long game deck playing red, because you might play this when you have a bunch of power. So it's kind of flexible in that way. And there's a slight tension if you are playing in an aggressive deck because it's a depleted power, and sometimes when you need to play it for the inscribe, it doesn't let you curve out properly. But I think mostly it's worth it. I still wouldn't prioritize this card, but I think it's, I don't know, like a C for me.
Yeah, I could roll with C for all the reasons you said. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having one in a deck that either needs fire or is splashing fire. Yeah, C, straight up C.
All right. Next up is Raise. Alex, why don't you tell us about Raise?
This is a F.
Okay, fair enough.
Deal 4 damage to an enemy player or site. When you play a hero, you may discard a card to draw Raise from your void. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, you're pitching. Yeah.
Yeah. Just F, right? I don't have much more to say. It's just real bad. Bad.
Yeah. Discarding, even if you discard power for 4 damage to face, it just does 4 damage. Yeah. John, anything to add?
Ultra aggressive decks. Like, just no.
Yeah, I had someone play this card against me today in the open, surprisingly enough. It's definitely an F. I don't know what they were thinking.
Yep, fair enough. F for Raise. It needs to raise the bar significantly higher if it wants to make a good grade. Next up is Bang. Sheriff of Dunehill. I like this card a lot. 3/3 Yeti Gunslinger, uncommon for 4, double fire. Amazing artwork. Summon, play a random weapon on Bang, and take depth equal to its cost. So yes, there are some pretty bad weapons out there, but what's the worst you can get? +1/+1, +3, or +0/+3. That one, I mean, like, I don't know. I like this card. I think it, and then of course you're still kind of windvoking, right? You have a chance of drawing like a Persuader or the Dragon Amulet Crown thing.
This is limited Jedi. It's only what's in the limited format.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. All right, fair enough. I don't know. I like this card. I think it's a C+. What do you think, John?
Yeah, C+ is fair. You mentioned low rolls. Like I think it's pretty balanced. I think there's some a lot of medium rolls that you're happy to get, and then there's some extremely high ones, and then some extremely low ones. Like one of the worst ones is like literally a 0/0 for you go in debt for 4. If you're not playing Rakano, you can get a Mantle of Justice, and it does nothing. You have to pay. You just don't get to play for your next turn, basically.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
The kind of bad one. It's like it's some stats.
So wait, Mantle of Justice. Wait, hold on. So sorry, Mantle of Justice is in the format.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, I haven't seen it yet, so I guess it's not.
Yeah, so like Bang is best in Rakano, which has it's like the weapon thing anyway. But I think you play it anywhere. Another bad one is like what's the time one that like it's 6 cost and it like plays cards from your deck that share like a battle skill, right?
Rod
or whatever. Yeah, so like that one is particularly expensive, and this guy doesn't have battle skills, so that's like another kind of whiff. But at least it gives him some stats. But it's like you might be taking off your next 2 turns when you play. Like so, there's definitely it's got a good balance of rolls. So I think C+ is fair, and it's not splashable, right? Double fire, so. But it's good top end for an aggressive deck playing fire, and yeah, sometimes you just super high roll. Like that's the thing too.
Alex, do you have anything to add about Bang?
C+, super fun card.
Nice.
And it's the next card I want to see you put your face on.
Like, oh, okay. I'll see. I'll Photoshop that today.
For the stream, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Good call, Alex. Ooh, I'm gonna work on that tonight. Next up, we have Blighted Pasture. This is a 4 double fire fast spell at uncommon. Deal 5 damage to the enemy player. Wait a minute, we've seen this before, but plus an additional damage equal to, plus additional damage equal to the life they've gained this turn. John, it's a fast spell.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I've never seen this card actually. I think I just gloss over it in the packs I'm drafting. I've never seen anyone play it. I think it's an F. It just made me think of like, okay, equals a life gain this turn. One of the better life gain cards in the format is like a time uncommon we'll talk about later that says like basically you can't take any damage and you gain a bunch of life or whatever. So it's like this does nothing in that case anyway. So like,
Yeah.
what? I don't get it.
Yeah.
F.
F. Alex?
Ha ha ha! I got you. You played the card you shouldn't have been playing anyways, but I got you with this card. I mean, the artwork looks kind of cool. It looks like Little Red Riding Hood, but yeah, that's an F for sure.
All right. Next up, we have Molten Feet. This is a 3/2 Grenadine for 4 fire. Charge and inscribe. Alex, what do you think of Molten Feet?
Yeah, this is a good inscribe card. I don't mind having as many of these as I can, like as your extra power for the deck. This is just a C, straight up C. I would give it.
Mm-hmm. I think it would be a C if it didn't have inscribe. The fact that it has inscribe makes it a C plus for me. I like this card. I mean, C plus is probably generous, but I just like its flexibility. The stats aren't too bad with the charge, and then inscribe is just great. Helps you get there. So, yeah, I like this card as C plus for me. John?
I'm gonna see like Alex, just because of the, I mentioned the tension between cards like this in an aggro deck. Like you definitely want to be playing this if you're in an aggro deck, basically only. Like it's okay in other decks, but you definitely don't prioritize it at all. But it's like when you do need to play it for the inscribe, it can mess up your curving out.
Mm-hmm.
Just to see.
Yep. All right, John, you've mentioned this one a couple times, so I'll let you take it. Talk to us about Calderon Captain.
Yeah, I think out of all of the common fire cards that are, other than Searing Fist, I think this one is premium. Like you might even splash it if you have some fixing randomly.
Mm-hmm.
We've had cards similar to this in the format before. Look at like Barbarian Camp, like that's 4 cost, and it doesn't put a 4/3 in play with Revenge. Like this guy's kind of insane. And if if you're like go wide or you have like flyers and things, it really helps you close up the game fast. And often you don't mind just like trading off for like a threat that's beating you down, because I mean it's got 4 attacks, so it can trade reasonably well, and it's got revenge, so it'll come back, or maybe hopefully you've got like a few of these in your deck. So I think it's like a B minus.
Okay, and just for clarification, it is 5 and a red for Calderon Captain. 4/3 Revenge. Your units have +1 attack, permanent. And as long as he's in play, yeah, I like B minus for this guy too. This guy is just solid. Alex?
Yeah, it's like what Red would want to do. It's great. B minus. I love it.
All right, next up we have Hoof Stomp. Oh wow, it actually looks pretty decent premium. Hoof Stomp is a 5 and a red spell. Overwhelm. Deal 5 damage to a unit without overwhelm. So a couple of things. Overwhelm on the spell means that if you're using it to kill, for example, a 2/2, 3 damage will roll over and smash your opponent in the face. The other flip side to this is that if your opponent has a way to give something overwhelm at fast speed, they can essentially negate this. So just keep that in mind. But 5 damage for 5, and it can trickle over a little bit. I like this card. I think it's a matter. Oh man, I'm not as familiar with the format to know where the how much overwhelm there is in the format. That being said, though,
Not
5.
Most of the
I think it's
overwhelm
still
cards are bigger than 5.
yeah, I think it's I think it's still just a C plus, right? Because I mean, you're still paying 5, and it doesn't kill everything.
Exactly. That's what I would have it at. It's not the most efficient removal, but having that, it's a little flexible, because sometimes you just kill an X1 with it and go face for 4 or whatever. Like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's got that going on for it. So it's great top end for an aggressive deck, but it's still, you can only have so many of these in your deck or whatever. It's a C plus.
Yeah, I think the overwhelm, exactly what you said, where it doesn't go face, but it kind of does. So I like that flexibility in it. What about you, Alex?
You guys said everything, so C plus.
All right, C plus for Hoof Stomp. Next up, we have Thunderwing. This is a 3/3 dragon for 5 fire, flying and overwhelm. Man, like I feel like this card should be good, but I keep cutting it. I haven't played it in a fire deck yet. It's evasive. It has overwhelm, isn't super busted in the air, especially on a 3/3, right? And most of the cards that pump already give overwhelm with them as far as combat tricks go. I don't know. Like, is this a C minus or C? I feel like it should be a C at least, but considering how many times I've seen it on the playing field, I feel like it's a C minus. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I haven't been too impressed with this card. It's not really a stat line that you see too often in red, especially with Overwhelm. It's just, I don't think I've ever seen a unit like that, but it's hasn't been impressive. C minus for me.
Like maybe it's supposed to combo with our next card. We'll talk about here in a minute. What do you think, John?
No, I think the issue with this is literally the last two cards we talked about are both 5-cost fire commons that you would always pick over it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. I think you're right.
And like you're surely pairing it with something else. And so like if you're primal, you have more efficient flyers. If you're justice, you have more, it's like it just doesn't really have a place. Now, if you miss out on these other cards, yeah, you'll play one of these. So it's almost in the begrudging playable for me. So it's like C minus is okay. It could even be a D plus.
Yeah, the fact that it doesn't have inscribe either, that kind of give it a little bit of a bump as far as top end goes, I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it does combo with this next card, which we'll talk about here, and this is Chakram Throw. This is 6 fire for a fast spell at uncommon. Play a +4 attack strength Steel Fang Chakram on one of your units. For those of you that don't remember, Steel Fang Chakram is +4/+0, and every time the unit that's wielding it dies, you get it back into your hand to play it on another one. It is pretty darn good. And we're seeing kind of a pseudo spell of it at uncommon. John, what do you think? I mean, this thing goes great with the Thunder Swing, right? It becomes a 7/3 overwhelm, so that's kind of sweet. But what do you think, John? It is a fast spell.
Yeah, it works on any evasive unit just as good. It doesn't have to be, but yeah, it's 5 into 6, sure, whatever. But no, I mean, you're happy playing this on anything with evasion. You're happy playing this on a 1/1 Grenadine because it'll trade with something. I mean, it's very power inefficient, but it's kind of got some inevitability quality to it. You'd rather just have a Chakram for 4 in packs 2 and 3, but this being fast kind of lets you use it like a trick and then do inevitability. Like, I think it's pretty good, but the thing bringing it down is just, it's prohibitively expensive at 6. So I don't know. It's probably like a C plus for me. But you also you only really want one in your deck. I think
I agree.
anytime. Yeah. So.
Yep. I mean, you can also do it in defense, and it's not quite a 2-for-1 because you get a card back, right? You chances are you're gonna lose the unit that you're blocking with, but at least you trade up on mana that way. Power. I'm not sure. And then for any of you that are watching or listening, if you guys are lore buffs and know the lore of Eternal, if you could tell me whether the Chakram is just a barbarian weapon or if it belongs to the one tribe guy, because we've only seen it on that tribe leader, the barbarian dude. And now some random, it's not Quinn. I have no idea who that female is. But I'm just curious to see if that was his signature weapon or if he died like Dizzo did or et cetera, et cetera. Anywho, Alex, what do you think of Chakram Throw?
Yeah, C plus. It's expensive.
Yep.
So what the weapon left behind is amazing. C plus.
All right, C plus for Chakram Throw. Next up, we have Lava Blood Rager. This is a 5/5 Sentinel for 6 fire. Contract 3, exhaust and deal 1 damage to an enemy unit. So essentially, the exhaust to get rid of big or to take out big units for a turn, and then if it's small enough, you can just ping it and kill it. There's some flexibility there. 9 total mana or power if you wanted to do that. 5/5 for 6 though, no keywords. This is kind of feeling like a C minus to me, especially with once again the Sentinel or the Captain in the format. Alex, sending it back over to you. What do you think of Lava Blood Rager?
I'm just at D minus. Contract 3 to exhaust and deal 1 damage to something is pretty much meh. 9. The 5/5 left behind just doesn't really battle well on the board at that cost. Yellow's gonna have another 5/5 that comes back with the revenge for 1 more. It's just really badly costed. I'm at D minus.
No, I think you're right. The fact that the 5, it does exhaust a blocker, but the 5 isn't coming in there that turn either. So I think you're right. What do you think, John?
Yeah, just like a D for me. I try not to play this one for sure. It's begrudging.
Yeah, no, you guys are right. It's a D. D for Lava Blood Rager. Next up is Oni Forge Smith. This is a 6/4 Oni at uncommon for 6 fire. Inscribe. Contract 2. Draw a weapon from your void and give it double damage. I like this card. It does take a little bit of a build around because you want to make sure you have weapons you want to get back. Though a 6-drop that has Inscribe is sweet because you can inscribe it early for power and later on you can actually play it. 6/4 though, man, like we just talked about earlier, you could pay 2 power to kill this thing. It's kind of shaky. I think it's probably just a C plus. Like you're happy to have it, but I could easily see you not playing it if you don't have weapons to get back because then it's just a 6/4 for 6 and that's not very impressive. So maybe this is actually just straight up C. What do you think, John?
No, I think it's a C plus. Like it shines in certain archetypes and with certain cards. Like it's particularly good with Stone Scar because of a common 2-cost relic weapon we'll talk about later in the multicolored section. Like you're very happy getting the contract out with that. And then, Deto Cannon is in packs 2 and 3. So like if you happen to get a detonation cannon, you would very highly prioritize this because it makes
yeah.
when you Deto Cannon and do 4 damage, like the relic weapon has double damage, which means you have double damage. So it deals 16 to the face. Like, and then you have 4 more damage coming from the relic weapon itself. Like it's like a wombo combo, and it's a common. It's like very low boosted in the packs right now, so it's not easy to find one, but they're out there. And like you said, it's an inscribe card, so it makes it like the 6 cost it's not like as much of a cost to your deck as it would normally be at all. But I think your rating's fine. Without like considering a build around, it's a C plus, I think.
All right, fair. Alex, what do you think?
Not much to add. I like it at a C plus as well.
All right, C plus for Oni Forge Smith. And that does it for fire. So let's start creeping into time here. Starting off with Dismantle. This is a 1-time fast spell. Inscribe, kill an enemy attachment with cost 4 or less. So it can hit both relics, relic weapons, and attachment or weapons on your opponent's unit. So John, what do you think of Dismantle? Does this make the Inscribe cut?
I think it does. I don't know what to rate it. Maybe like a C minus because there's ones I typically play over this, but like I don't know how many times we'll talk about this, but this is like a 15 power in your deck format plus inscribes, and so typically you want 3 or 4 cards that you are always planning to inscribe, like if you need to, and then any more over that, it's like it's still fine as long as they're real cards in your deck. This one is not really a real card in your deck, but it counts towards that like 18, 19 power threshold as an inscribed card. So, and it has enough hits in the format. It's a fast spell. People play relic weapons, people play brigade hall, people play permafrost. It hits all of those things at fast. Like I blew somebody out today in the open doing this on a permafrosted unit. When they went in to attack me, suddenly it was able to block, and it's just a power in my deck. So it's definitely playable, but it has a lot of competition. As just an inscribed card. It's like just a power with upside, right? Like it's not a real card in your deck. So C minus maybe, could be D plus.
I like C minus because I think there is some applications for it for sure. I think 4 or less definitely allows you to do some things, especially at fast speed, like you just mentioned, to almost essentially make it a combat trick. So yeah, I like this card, C minus. What do you think, Alex?
Just the fact that it could hit Brigade Hall for me puts it in the C range. C minus.
Yeah, we'll talk about that card here in a little bit, but yeah, that's a solid answer for sure. Next up, Puffer Humbuck is a 1/1 insect at uncommon for 1 time. Flying, ambush, odd. Contract 2, give Puffer Humbug +2 health or life this turn. John, explain this card to me. Why is this card an uncommon?
I don't know. Yeah, it could be uncommon. I think it's because it's like it's Time's bad symmetrical version of the 1-drop Contract 2 card. So it's not symmetrical, but it's like still Time's version of that card. So it's uncommon.
Like, I get it. You're supposed to give the... Oh, wait, no. It gives the +2 to itself, too. Yeah, this card is just bad. Right?
It's
like,
not just bad. It's okay.
To kill the 2/1 charge, which is also kind of bad.
It's okay. Enlighten me. Like, I just, I don't know. Okay. So what are you going to grade it at?
I like a D plus, C minus. Like, you know, you need some synergy to make it good. Like one of the other contract cards, maybe once you give it like lifesteal, then it's a 2/4, lifesteal flyer, which is great. You know what I mean? Like it needs a little something, something. If you have some ways to just like buff units, if you have like that time rare.
But
That,
then why
and
don't you just buff a unit that's already decent instead of like a 1/1?
I mean, like if I'm in primal, sometimes I play a 1/3 flyer for 2. It's like basically the same thing, right? But this one has ambush, so sometimes you can like get something with it. I've eaten a unit with it already in the format. It's like it has ambush, so like you can also protect the cards you care about from like relic weapon attacks and stuff. Like it has some use for sure. I wouldn't
Okay.
prioritize it because they'll come around if time's open.
What were you saying, Alex?
Like if it let you give it to any unit, I think I would like it a lot more. But I mean, John
Definitely.
sounded like he liked it way more than what the Grady was gonna give it, because I give it like a D plus C minus as well, like somewhere around there.
Yeah, that's exactly why we do the grades, right? Because I was kind of like, oh man, this guy's gonna give it like a C plus. Then you're like D plus. I'm like, okay, I'm behind that. So D plus for Puffer Humbuck.
You're like saying this is unplayable. I don't think it's unplayable at all.
I don't know. I'll see if it makes one of my decks.
Yeah, I've played some decks.
I mean, if you have the 6-cost relic that buffs everything, all of a sudden it's better.
Yeah, or plenty, like anything like that. Like and like,
right?
Like I mentioned, like the Justice lifesteal, contract card. Like
right, yeah.
That make this go way up in value.
We're talking way too much about it, that's for sure, however.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's take all these busted cards, and if you combo with this mediocre card or bad card, we make it mediocre. Yeah, we did it.
Not there.
Arcanum Seeker is a 0/4 Explorer at uncommon for 2-time ultimate. When you gain life, Arcanum Seeker gets +4/+0, i.e. becoming a 4/4 for 2. I don't know how much incidental life gain there is in this deck. You're not putting life gain in your deck to make this happen. But you said it's serviceable, John? Tell me about it.
Yeah, it has some support in the format, but I wouldn't prioritize it, for picks. If these just are coming your way, then kind of look out for incidental life gain cards, because this is like very playable, especially if you can like, even if it's a couple turns later, making it a 4/4 for 2 is great. And like the 0/4 really stops a lot of, early aggression. Like a lot of people play like the 2/2 that when it connects, it becomes a 4/4. And this this is a way to kind of stop that from happening. And like, if you can gain life at fast speed, this can also it's like a built-in combat trick too. It's like, I don't think you prioritize it in your pick order. But like if these are coming your way and you just happen to have some, like then kind of keep an eye out for things to make it work. I'd probably rate it like, I don't know, a C minus, D plus. It's slightly better than this Humbug maybe.
I think I would naturally go D plus, but I think I'm willing to go C minus based on what you've said. But yeah, I think right now at the moment I'd be on D plus, but I'll go C minus. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, blocks quite a bit of things. C minus.
All right, C minus for Arcanum Seeker. Next up, Disciplinary Studies. Ooh, that's super good artwork. It is a cursed relic at uncommon for 2-time. When the cursed player draws an additional card, increase its cost by 2. Contract 2, each player draws a card. This is just F, right?
F.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. Let's move on. Disciplinary weights, but disciplinary studies. Got it. Next up, Kick Flip Monk is a 1/4 mystic at uncommon for 2-time. Inscribe flying on the enemy turn. Cards can't leave voids. I think this is just a C, right? Just a solid C. 1/4 for 2. Sometimes you play your Gruons, right? Inscribe gives you some flexibility, and then the flying blocks. 1/4 blocks quite a few things in the air, and I don't think cards leaving the void is relevant in this current format, but I could be mistaken. Is it? I'm trying to think what.
Yes.
What? Oh, okay. I believe you. All right, so we'll finish with you then, John. No, go ahead, John. What do you think? Break us down. Kickflip Monk.
Yeah, it's like that last card that I said was like, playable, but it's already got at least the one attack, so it'll people can't just swing into it freely like the 0/4, and it's flying on the enemy turn, so it's a great defensive card. And we talked about that 2-drop in fire with inscribe. It's like, why are you inscribing this? Well, in a time deck you're typically going to 6 and 7, so like this is a card you definitely want to inscribe sometimes. And once you identify your opponent's not kind of an aggressive deck, I think the inscribe value goes up even further. You do need to watch out like for the additional text on there. Cards can't leave the enemy voids, because like
Cards can't leave voids. No, voids, both voids.
Sorry, yeah. Like if you're playing time, you're probably playing at least one revenge card. Like, and if you're playing another color, it's like it shuts off your own revenge. It shuts off their revenge. So like, there's a deck building cost to having this card, I think. Like you want to minimize your void stuff. Like it's particularly bad with Xenon, which has even more revenge and even more like pulling units from your void to play and stuff like that. Like it's like some counter synergy, so it's just some kind of thing to watch out for. Like you really don't want revenge and this guy in the same deck if you can help it, but if you're not doing it, it really hoses some things your opponents will be trying to do in the format.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I for one always forget that revenge units go to the void, then come out of it instead of just going straight into your deck. So good call. Alex, anything to add?
No, not much. I like it at a just straight up C.
Yep. C for Kick Flip Monk. Next up, Lost in Thought. What is up with this kid? Oh, I love studying. I don't think I've ever really paid attention to this card. Oh my god, that kid is so... Oh, that's hilarious. And I can't tell if the instructor is going to backhand him or is just like, oh god. John, tell us about Lost in Thought so I mute myself real quick.
All right, so it's a two at a time fast spell with inscribe. Put a unit with cost 4 or less into its owner's hand. So it's it's a bounce spell for 2, except there's a ceiling to how expensive its targets can be. It's an inscribed card. I think it's fine. It can, in time, you typically have fatties, which means this can help blow out like an attempted double block. Bouncing units takes the weapons off, so that's a thing in the format for sure. Yeah, I think it's fine. It's kind of replacement level though, but the inscribe, it's like one of the inscribed cards I kind of prefer over dismantle, we mentioned earlier, in general. So I think it's like a C for me.
Okay. Yeah, I could go with C as well. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, like it's very flexible, bouncing your own stuff, and at the end of the day, it's just a power. So yeah, I'm at a straight up C.
All right, C for Lost in Thoughts. That guy's probably never seen a C in his life. How hard he's studying. All right, Saddled Ceratosaurus, a 2/2 dinosaur for 2 time. Contract 3. Give another one of your units killer. Man, they've really been knocking it out of the ballpark with these 2-drops here lately. I like this card a lot. I think this card is a very solid C. I think it's great. If you really need a 2-drop, you can play it, and if not, it can give itself killer to take out a flyer, and if not, you could give something big killer to kill something. This thing's great. I like this card a lot. I give it a solid C. What do you think, Alex?
You can't give itself killer, but I do like it.
Oh, you're right. It just said another unit. Derp.
I like it at a C plus though. Actually, it's very flexible 2-drop. I keep them in my hand often, so you can use it for the killer effect. Don't really want to play it on 2 if you don't have to, but you can. So yeah, C plus.
Okay, John.
I love this card. Man, I could even give it a B minus, but I'm cool with a C plus.
I almost was the same way. I'm like, is this good enough to give a B minus?
Really?
I think it kind of is. Yeah, it's just so good. There's a lot, like we mentioned there's a good amount of revenge in the format. Giving a revenge unit killer is amazing. Yeah, it's just like, it's kind of like a 2-for-1 on a stick, man. And 2-drops are in high demand. So, I mean, I if I'm in time, I'm highly prioritizing these in the drafting process, like taking it over a lot of other cards, like at the B- range. So, yeah, I'm cool with the C+, but I think this is a pretty great 2-drop.
No, all right, you talked me into it. We'll hot take right there. Saddled Sarasaur gets a B- from Eternal Journey. Next up is Forestall. This is a 3-time fast spell. Prevent all damage an enemy of your choice would deal this turn. Draw a card. So a little worse than Shackles and a little better than Shackles because it replaces itself, though Shackles wasn't too difficult to get a card out of it. I think this card is playable. I think it's a C. I think it's a C. You need to have a specific board state to kind of make this really value it, but the fact that it replaces itself is solid, so you don't mind using it just to kind of save a unit or something like that. I still think I think there's still a finite number you want in your deck, so I like Forestall at a C. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I agree with the rating. Like, it just like Shackles, you can point it at the opponent's face and stop like a relic weapon hit or like a damage based board wipe and things like that. And yeah, it's a cantrip, replaces itself.
Yeah,
it's just the fact that it's always the cost 3 instead of sometimes 1.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
Not quite Shackles, but it does replace itself.
Mm-hmm. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit less C-, but definitely playable. I can come up to a C easily.
All right, C for Forestall. Next up, we have Nascent Wisps. John,
I'd say nascent, but I don't know if that's actually correct.
All right, we'll go with that. Nascent Wisps is a 2/1 Wisp for, well, it says Wisps. So then what? All right, whatever.
Yeah, you see he's got some homies back there.
Yeah, it's Vandalian Wisp is what it is. Vandalian Wisps is a 3-time flying and charge. I mean, it dies to your puff bug. I don't know. Is this a C- or is it just a C? I think it's a C-, right? It's playable, but you're not really excited about it. And there's not really
managed to not play any of these yet. It would be begrudgingly playable for me. Like, it's like a D+, I think. Yeah,
because even an aggressive
double pip, like, ugh.
Yeah, I think you're right. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, it's hard to cast. D+, I guess.
All right. D+ for Nascent Vandalian Wisps. Next up, Sundanese Bracers. They look super cool, though. Is a 3-time relic at uncommon, +1 maximum power. When you play a hero, +1 maximum power. Wait. Yeah, okay. Sure. For some reason, I feel like there's something missing there, but I guess the math checks out. Okay, so pay 3, gain an extra power. We've seen this. That's pretty much the standard in time. Pay 3, get an extra power one way or another. But if you play a hero, you get 2 power out of it. If you play another hero, you get 3 power. I mean, there's definitely heroes at the uncommon level. I don't think there's heroes at the common level. Could be wrong off the top of my head. But, I mean, with Inscribe and stuff, you really don't need extra power in your deck. And I don't think you've felt the need to ramp up their turn early. So I think this card's... I feel hard pressed to give it an F. Is it like a D? I mean, I haven't
about right.
Yeah, like, it's crazy because the cards you're trying to ramp into, quote unquote, they have Inscribe on them. So if you need the power, you just play them. I don't know. I think this is a D. It might even be an F in this specific format.
Yeah, I'd say D- even. It's hard for me to just give it a straight F, but you basically said why it's not great. Like, and there's like a common flyer that ramps you from forward or whatever, and there's like, there's still apprentice mages and things in the draft packs if you want to ramp. Those are so much better. Like, best case scenario, you might have 2 heroes in your deck. So like trying to actually make this do more than +1 is kind of a fool's errand.
Yeah. And plus, it doesn't fix you, right? Inherently, those three power, go grab a sigil out of your deck thing kind of at least offers some fixing aspect to it as well. This doesn't do any of that.
Yep.
Alex, anything to add?
Guys, I'm not ever putting this in my deck. I give it an F.
Fair enough. Yeah, I would
All right.
probably never as well.
Okay, fair enough. F to Sindane's Bracers. Next up, Talk, the Alarming. This is a 1/1 hero cockroach at uncommon for 3 Revenge. Contract 2, give one, or oh my gosh, English today. Contract 2, give your cockroaches +1/+1. Each cockroach in your hand, deck, and void gets +1/+1. So it buffs itself, right? At the very minimum, it's a 2/2 Revenge for 3, right, John?
At the minimum for 5 power.
Oh, that's right. It's, yeah, all right, F.
I haven't tried the cockroach meme yet. Like, there's some of them.
Okay, build around. That's right.
I haven't tried this card yet, and I probably never will.
If they wanted this to be a thing, I think it needed to be a common. So you could, like, okay, are you the Talk deck or whatever, right?
Yeah.
At uncommon, it feels way
like
too difficult.
Is there really, like?
You know what? This is probably.
Sorry,
we're gonna probably see more roaches in the revamp when they do the second iteration of this format.
Maybe.
Yeah, because
this could just be like throwing the cockroach lovers a bone or whatever for throwing. I don't know.
Maybe because I mean the only other one that I can think of is the Toctic, right?
Yeah, that's in the draft packs. Like it's like, but the draft packs are huge, so
yeah,
it's a dice roll whether you'll ever see one. Like, even if you prioritize these, like pack 1.
Build around D.
Yeah. D-. Whatever. I don't want to give us a build around. Yeah.
All right, F.
Yeah, I'm on an F as well.
Okay,
just
F
I don't want to
for Talk the Alarming. If you see this in play, it should set off alarm bells. Vow of Silence is next. This is a 3 fast spell with Inscribe, silence an enemy unit. I like this card. Sometimes silence is relevant. Sometimes it's straight up kill a unit, and sometimes it can get a pesky flyer or deadly unit out of the way. And then Inscribe makes it pretty safe. So I like this card. I give it a C. I give it a solid C. Alex?
Yeah, fast silence, can act as removal a lot of times. Yeah, solid C, especially with Inscribe.
John?
Yep. Same here.
All right. Next up, Lotus Instructor is a 4/3 Mystic for 4 Contract 3, give a unit +1/+1 and overwhelm permanently. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I like this card a lot. It has there's a lot of things you can do when you're giving a unit overwhelm and a stat buff. Like if it's on a flyer, just the stat buff is relevant. If you find like a deadly unit, then you have the whole deadly overwhelm thing going on. If you buff a revenge unit, it's going to be extra annoying for your opponent. It's just a little expensive, but at least the contract is so like if you have 4 power, at least next turn you'll have 1, maybe 2 power, right? If you hit another power drop next turn, you'll have 2 power available, so it doesn't disrupt your next turn all the way. I think it's very solid, like a C+.
Yeah, I like that. C+ for all the reasons you stated. Alex?
Right there with you guys, C+.
Lotus Instructor, you get a C+. Mature Avirax. Where is my English today? 2/2 dinosaur for 4 flying +1 maximum power. C-. John?
Yeah, that's probably about right. Like, it's a little anemic stat-wise for 4, but in time you're probably wanting to get to 6, maybe even 7, and this helps you jump there, on your next turn, if it survives a turn. And, sometimes a 2/2 beater can do quite a bit of damage in a game. Sometimes they just kill it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's giving you ramp on a relevant unit because it has flying versus just kind of like a chump blocker.
Yeah, so I think it's fine, but probably like a C-. That's what you said.
Yeah, it's just tough with 4 drops, right? 4 drop is when Eternal starts to get a little contested for quality units for sure. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so this is the kind of ramp I would be okay with putting in my deck, but it's not spectacular. But C-, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's odd. We haven't seen this yet. I mean, I guess we saw it in core. What is it? Core tap, core something or whatever. But I mean, that thing ramps you. It's a relic, and it ramps you 2, so it takes you from 4 to 7. I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, I think I'll go C- for the time being on this guy, and we'll see what happens. Next up, Nomura the Pure. Oh, wait a minute. Is the Shadow one that we... Wait. Is the Shadow one the reverse name of this one?
It's, how these Radiants come in dualities, dualistic pairs.
Oh, okay,
It's literally
cool,
coming
cool.
backwards, like Aroman and Nomura.
Yeah, okay, cool. I did
The
it. I
statue
did it,
reversed.
Direwolf.
Oh,
We're paying attention,
wonder why
Direwolf.
First.
I just literally have never seen this card, so it's unique. Okay, and that's why it's a hero. 3/4 hero by the name of Nomura the Pure is a radiant at uncommon for 4 time. At the end of your turn, gain 1 life for each card you drew. Oh, it is that I like that. I like that. See, Direwolf, they got some devs on their side. 3/4 for 4 that gains you a life every turn. I like this card. I like it. I think I'd still rather have Overwhelm, so Vorlunk, but this card is, I think it's a C. You gaining a life every turn doesn't really put your opponent on a clock, but a 3/4 does block quite a bit. Yeah, I like this card at a C. Alex?
If you like need anything that needs a trigger, like a life gaining trigger, this is like the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it, it's slowly like 1 point every turn. That'll add up in these games that are super grindy. So I like this guy. I give it a C+.
Okay. I almost like her more in an aggressive deck just because of that life gain. It makes it less, you have to worry less about blocking. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm just at a C. It is like it definitely goes up in value if you care about the life gain trigger, but there's not a ton of support for that. There's like one card we mentioned already, but not too much else. But this is a great enabler for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stat line in the games is kind of medium, and honestly, I like the shadow version much better because like
Agreed.
it's like it can help shorten the game, and this one just helps drag them on. Like, but I think if you're if you're a more controlling deck, I think this card shines better as opposed to like you mentioned an aggressive deck. I think it's kind of bad there, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, And then the thing is, we haven't seen anything to really make the hero line of text relevant either, right? We haven't been like, well, it's a hero, so blah, blah, blah. Like, we really haven't seen that kind of payoff yet either. So, all right, C for Nomura. Next up, Bathe in Light. This is a fast spell uncommon for 6 time. Inscribe, gain 6 life. You and your units are invulnerable to damage this turn. And once again, it is a fast spell. I like this card. This card is good. This card is good. I give it... It has Inscribe. Screw it. B-. I like this card. I was thinking C+, but the Inscribe makes it to where it's not really a liability having it in your deck, and it could lead to some serious blowouts, both on offense and defense. So, yeah, I like this card. B- for from the Jedi on Bathe in Light. I mean, it negates huge attacks on your opponent's side. It wrecks them on double blocks and like aggressive attacks for you going in there. It can negate burn spells. It gains life, so it completely changes up like math and in a race. And then once again, it has Inscribe. So if you draw it early and you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna get there, you just turn it into power. This card is great. I like it. Yeah, John, what do you think?
Yeah, it is great. Like I'm having trouble giving it a B-, but that could be correct. Like I want to give it like a C+, but yeah, you're probably right. Like the only thing is not every deck wants this, right? If you're like an aggressive deck at all, you often don't want to get to 6 power and you don't want your power depleted. But if you're in a your average time deck trying to get to 6, trying to get to 7, you are super happy playing like some number of these. In the open today, I played 2 of these in a very controlling late game kind of deck, and yeah, it was. It's like you can, once you have the right board state, you can like swing in, and your opponent like either gets kind of wrecked if they try and do some blocks, and then it's or maybe they're just like, well, I'll just kill them on the crackback, and then it's like, yeah, good luck. Like it can make things super awkward. But you can also get a read on it because it's like a pause at 6, and like, so it's like kind of the opposite
Mm-hmm.
of shackles in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And then people are
It
starting
does
to play
nothing on
some
empty board
counter
state.
spells,
Like
so
a
it's hard to
pause at
rely on.
6 could be anything though, you know?
Well, but like, if they pass the turn, at 5 and there was no pause, it's like, you know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
yeah. No, I get
possible to
it.
get a read on it. And people are
But
starting to play counter spells. So
I have definitely have.
yeah. So like if you like do the swing out and then you're relying on this and it gets counterspelled, you just died. So you got to be kind of careful with it, but no, it's super powerful. But like, C plus, B minus, I'm not sure.
All right. Well, Alex, be the tiebreaker here. Where do you want to go? But
Let's
I
not.
mean, it does absolutely nothing on an empty board, right? I mean, it stops you from dying, but that's it. So you do have to have something. Yeah, I don't know. So maybe you're right. I think I'm leaning more towards C plus now. Alex?
Because of how many times I've been gotten by this card, which I think is like total blowout cases, it's been 3. I'm gonna give it a B minus.
Okay.
All right.
Just,
All right, fine. B minus for Bathe in Light. I think it's got very high upside. It's got some very medium to low sides as well. We'll have to see how it plays out. You might be right. Maybe this is just the early stages of the format where this card is relevant, and later on it's just going to be not a thing, or vice versa. All right, next up we have Cloud Scraper. This is a sick. They really need to. I feel like they need to do a better job portraying these giants in the artwork, because either they're surrounded by giants or they just half the time, unless it has the text of like, "Hey, this is a giant," I would not know it's a giant. You know what I mean? And I'm not sure.
Is he holding like a baseball? Is he about to swing for the fences?
like,
It
I
looks
imagine him
like it.
hitting like a sprite out of the air with his bat, like because it kind of makes a sprite go back to the bottom of the deck, but you just can't see it, right? It's like behind the
maybe
city.
it is a sprite, or like a wisp or whatever. I think you might be right.
Maybe it's your puffer bug that's already puffed up. It looks like a time pip. That's what it is. He's holding a time pip. All right. So Cloud Scraper is a 6/6 giant at uncommon for 6 time. Inscribe contract 2. Put an enemy unit with cost 2 or less onto the bottom of its owner's deck. I like this card because it gets rid of annoying deadly units. Most of the time they're cheap and small and just kind of gumming up the board. This guy kind of clears it up, and the contract is relevant, right? Sometimes you are going to play this, but at the same time, if you play this guy on curve at 6, then at the bare minimum you're going to have 4 power next turn, and that's still enough to do something. So yeah, I like this guy. I think he's still just a C because he is just a vanilla 6/6 for 6, and there's a lot cooler things you could be doing, but maybe I'm just spoiled with pop. I like this guy. I think he's a C. Alex?
Yeah, just straight up C for me as well.
John?
Like, I think he's maybe even a C plus. Little removal on a stick, possibly a power. I like the flexibility a lot. I think he's a C plus for me.
I mean, but 2 or less is pretty prohibitive, right?
Yeah, sometimes you need a power, and sometimes you just need a 6-drop too. Like, it's nice. I like flexible draft cards. This is one of them.
You're not wrong. C plus.
All right, C plus for Cloud Scraper. Next up is Emburden. This is a 6 time spell. Put an enemy unit into its owner's hand, and the enemy player takes on 3 debt. So essentially, you're supposed to bounce something, and then they can't play it next turn. But you're taking 6 to do it at slow speed. I don't like this card. I don't like this card at all. Like, D if you're in some trouble with removal and you need some interaction, but even at slow speed, I don't think aggressive decks want it because it's 6 power. It might even be an F. I don't know. Alex?
So, like, basically very begrudgingly playable, D minus. Like you said, if you're extremely hard up.
John?
Yeah, I couldn't think of a single time where I'd ever even want this, but like just now, like I guess you made me think of those times where, I'm sure we've all seen plenty of Chloric Mix in the format and things like that, right? It's like they're passing with 2 or 3 power up, right? And I guess this could, it could get rid of a blocker, and then if like let's say they passed with like literally 3 power-ups, suddenly they take 3 debt, which means that power is instantly gone, right? So it kind of gets rid of that caloric window, and removes a blocker. So I suppose it could actually be somewhat useful in those cases. I still don't think I'm going to play it because like
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like it. But I guess it does have some use in the format. So yeah, D minus, I guess. I would have just given it an F.
So debt is always paid off immediately when you have the power. It's not
is.
like it's not at the moment when you cast it or at end of turn. It's whenever you have the power available.
Yeah, so if it's on your turn, your opponent passed with 3 power up and you want to get an attack in, but you're afraid of caloric, yeah, this would literally make them pay that 3 power when you play this spell.
Got you. Okay, cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
All right, fair. So yeah, we'll go D minus and Burden. Next up is Marison's
Legacy?
Yeah, Marison's Legacy is
Marisen.
that's right. I haven't been doing it this time. Shoot. Marison's Legacy is a spell at uncommon for 6 triple time. Play a 1/1 Scorpion with Deadly, a 2/2 Locust with Flying, and a 3/3 Sand Crawler with Overwhelm. Yep, so pretty much copies the legendary, except you get it all right off the bat. It's super cute. You see all the bugs on the front. Wait, Legacy? So is she dead, or is she just traveling? And these are all the bugs she's left behind in her travels.
Not sure.
Oh my God, they're killing everyone
There's
off.
a story of her getting bumped off that I'm aware of, but maybe like she was from a different time zone or something. It's hard to say.
I already couldn't handle Akaria dying. They can't, and then now they killed Dizzo. I'm just gonna stop liking people. If they kill Rizon, oh my gosh, we're gonna have issues.
Yeah, we Game of Thrones now.
Oh God, I know this is horrible. Kill the people I don't care about. Jeez. So you're getting 6/6 of power, or 6/6 worth of stats for 6. It does cost triple time, but it's a decent spread of keywords, right? The 1/1 Scorpion blocks, the Locust gets in there, the 3/3 has Overwhelm. This card seems good to me. The influence cost is pretty restricted, but I don't know, B minus, I think. It's just 3 bodies for 6 seems good, and they're all relevant. So yeah, I think B minus for me on this card. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I'm on it's like right on rate stats wise, 6/6 for 6, but I think there's additional value for it being spread out, and like these are, like you said, all relevant keywords, 2 evasion, 1 amazing blocker, but without synergy, I think it's just a C plus. But there is like some serious synergy in the format, right? Like if you're playing it alongside something like Captain, they're all just a little bigger. If you're playing it alongside Expedition gear, they're all much bigger.
Well, you mentioned all
format.
all those 1-drops with contract to give battle skills to something else. So
Yeah. So, just as a card on its own in a time deck, yeah, C plus, a little above rate.
okay, Alex.
Yeah, I'm at C plus as well. Just it's pretty cost and time prohibitive with the casting.
Okay. All right. C plus for Marison's Legacy. Next up is Warrior Monk. This is a 6/5 Warrior Mystic for 6 time. Overwhelm. Contract 5. You gain 5 life. Alex, what do you think about Warrior Monk?
This is a great stabilizing force in a game. Like if you've been behind, it just puts up immediately a huge wall, gains you some life back. I like it at a C plus.
All right, John.
Yeah, I think C or C plus definitely. I think it's even reasonable top end in an aggro deck, right? Like because of the overwhelm, and like if you're racing, it helps you race. Especially if it's like, if it's working out where it's like your last card and there's no awkwardness. Like you really also wanted to play like a 5 or 6 drop next turn as well, which you can't if you're doing the contract. But
well, it also doesn't let you
sometimes
play
there's also
combat
board
trick.
states where you don't need the life gain. You just want the evasion and the big chonker.
The 5 contract does make it a little awkward if you are the aggressive deck and you want to leave up a combat trick the next turn when this guy attacks. But other than that, yeah, I like it as C plus.
Cool.
C plus for Warrior Monk. Next up, Carnosaur Beta. This is oh man, I just realized that the artwork has the Dillimok, the 7
Digamalock?
Stygimoloch. There we go. Stygimoloch. Yeah. Oh my God, Stygimoloch looks tiny next to this guy, which is crazy because Stygimoloch is so much bigger than this guy.
It's just a baby one.
Oh, what kind of? Oh, that's right. The beta's just ripping. It's the Anakin Skywalker of the dinosaurs. Oh man,
Yeah.
5/5 dinosaur for 7 time, but it has Inscribe and it has Revenge. John, I know you're a big fan of this guy. Tell me about Carnosaur Beta.
Yeah, like it looks kind of unassuming, but there's so much synergy for it in the format, and it has Inscribe. I would like this is kind of funny. Like if I'm playing, like an Argenport mid-range deck, like I would also take and play 4 of these in that deck because the first one fixes for the next 3 or whatever. Like as long as my influence requirements aren't crazy, like I would splash I'd splash this to play more of these kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, there's just synergy, man. Like giving this thing killer's insane. Just buffing it in any way is kind of good. And sometimes just playing 5/5 with Revenge is super annoying for your opponents. Like I think it's quite good. Like I might even say like B- good.
Whoa. Slow down there, Tiger.
The draft pick order and like the number of them I would play is kind of stupid high for a 7 drop. Like it's weird. Like maybe C+, but man, I like this guy.
All right. I the greed is real, man, and I'm such a conservative guy. Like maybe that's why I'm having a hard time seeing it. I believe it.
It's just
I believe
it's a
it.
depleted power, and sometimes it just kills people.
I'm on a C+ for this guy. Alex, what do you think?
Well, like John said, like if you want these in your deck, you really want them, and they're really good in that deck. The grindy late game deck. I give it a C+. I would like to give it a B-. Inscribe is super important, but C+, I think, still.
Okay. Gosh, so much greed. I could hear you smiling over the freaking internet, dude. All right, C+ for Carnosaur Beta. You can tell us this is your soapbox card at the end of the set. All right, that was time. Cardi B. Nice. All right, that was time. Time looks really solid, except some whack uncommons at 2 or whatever, but that's great. Next up, we have green, and we're going to start off with Alchemy Student. This is a 1/1 Tinker at uncommon for 1 Justice. Contract 2, give a unit +1/+1 and lifesteal. John, you like this card a lot. Tell me about it.
I do. Yeah, lifesteal is a great ability, great battle skill. The worst case here is it's a 2/2 lifesteal for 2, right? You play it on turn 1 and give it to itself. Like you don't get to play another 2-drop next turn, but it's like as if on your turn 2 you played a 2/2 for 2 with lifesteal. But that's like usually not the play unless you have a deck with 5 of these guys or 4 of these guys, which I have seen somebody with at least 4. But its best use is obviously giving +1 lifesteal to like an evasive unit or a revenge guy, anything like that. And like this is just such a good card in any deck playing Justice. This is the kind of card I'd even be willing to splash for. We gave the Dasher like a C+, right? I'd give this one a B-. I think it's a little bit better.
Holy cow, B-? Really?
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, man, I'm right there with John with that. It's really good.
Wow. Okay, holy cow.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Like the 1/1 body it leaves behind, right? Like there's more sacrifice synergy than normal, and then there's like it can block some 3/1s and things like that too. It's not, and like it's just like, so good.
Late game being able to put the lifesteal on whatever you want is just huge.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe you can pump up something that's already able to attack, and then it leaves behind this chump blocker too. Like it just makes it so much easier to race.
I mean, but if you're losing, I could see some scenarios where this can get you back. Well, all right. I don't know. I think it's a C+, but I'll come up to B-. I trust you guys.
It's definitely better than that other one.
Okay. Well, I mean, once again, we gave it a C+, but all right, fair enough. All right. I trust you. I like lifesteal. I just, man, I mean, okay. Yeah. Fair enough. We'll see how it plays out, but B- for Alchemy Student. Next up is Diminish. This is 1 justice for a curse summon. Set the cursed unit strength to 0. Entomb, the cursed unit gets plus attack equal to the strength, or plus the strength equal to the strength lost. I mean, it's not full-blown removal, but I mean, I think this card is pretty solid. I think it's really efficient removal. Yes, they could still block. There is a little bit of attachment hate in this format, but I haven't really seen too much of people using it. I don't know. I think this card is solid removal. What do you think, Alex?
I saw a lot of this card this weekend, and it was pretty effective. Because it leaves the unit behind, you could still sacrifice it, do other stuff. It could still block if it's like a 0/6 or whatever. C plus though for me.
Okay, John, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it is pretty good. Like, obviously removal is typically better. That takes things off the board because, like I just mentioned with Student, like leaving behind a body means, like Alex said, some sack synergies are still available and things like that. And honestly, I've done one of these students to, buff the unit back up. If it was like a flyer or something that was getting in, things like you can then add back to the stats after the fact. But it is also so it like the entomb only works when you actually kill the curse, not when like the unit it's attached to dies.
Mm-hmm.
And that appears to be how it's intended to work. They already had 2 emergency bug fixes this week, and I'm sure people reported this one as bugged, and they're just like, no, it's working as intended. So
Yeah, because I mean, it says it sets the curse unit. So even though the curse does it, it just sets it when it comes into play. Which, on that note, it also negates attachments. If there's a weapon on this unit, it's still gonna take it to 0.
yes, but like we've talked about already as well. There's plenty of like revenge in the format. So this like hoses revenge units too. Like when they die and then come back, they still have 0 attack. I mean, it's not 0 health, so they do actually die and come back, but they still like they as long as they didn't kill just the curse, the unit remains with 0 attack. So yeah, it's pretty good. Like C or C minus, or sorry, C or C plus is cool with me.
All right, C plus for Diminish. Of note, there's also whatchamacallit in the format. Oh no, actually I have no idea because that was a seal pull. Never mind, disregard.
Okay.
Anywho, next up is gold-plated Revolver. That is a +1/+1 weapon at uncommon for 1 green. Gold-plated Revolver has an additional +2/+2 if the wielder is a hero. D plus.
What did we give
Right?
accordion? This is
But
worse than accordion.
Yeah, exactly. And I think accordion was either a C or a C minus. I think C minus actually, because I don't think I think this is a D plus. Like,
Sure.
I mean, how many heroes do you want in your deck before you're happy playing this, right?
That doesn't exist. Like that number is not attainable in draft.
It's not a
Yeah.
thing like 8, or whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not completely unplayable, but I think a D is safe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just
Sure.
it just
bad.
doesn't.
I
Yeah.
hope to never play that unless I have like 10 heroes or somehow.
Word. Yeah, because I mean, there's another Heroes Matter cards that draws you a card, and we barely play that, if anything. So, all right, we'll move right along. Next up is Kasul Envoy. This is a 2/1 soldier for 1 green. Contract 2, gain 3 armor. C minus? I mean, yeah. I mean, there are some weapons in the format that could probably benefit from the 3 armor. You are still getting a 2/1, but I don't know. I'm really hesitant. Like a 2/1's got to impress me to put it in my deck, and 3 armor is not nothing, but it's not something that's very impressive either. So I'm at a C minus. What do you think, Alex?
I think in a format that's like kind of hard to get 2 drops, it seems like sometimes this kind of can replace the 2 drop, and then late game you gain some armor. It's like has some late game value as well, like you said with weapons. So like I'm on a C with this guy actually.
Okay, fair enough, John.
Yeah, I'm with Jedi on C minus. If you are playing it on 1 and contracting, you don't get to play a 2 drop, which maybe you don't have any, whatever. But like, it definitely goes up there's like they put it like an Armor Matters synergy like deck in the format. Like there's a lot of Armor Matters cards in the draft pools. Like the site that makes Kasava's in there. There's like the what is it, a 3/6 that just gets +1/+1 when you gain armor. There's like a lot of and I think they're pretty boosted because like I typically see a decent amount of them. So I think the value of this goes way up if you're kind of going into that synergy deck, which it's definitely a thing. But otherwise, like, yeah, you'll play this if you're just short on like 2 drops. I think it's fine. And yeah, it does have, relic weapons are a thing either way, like you said. So, but I'm still just on like a C-.
All right, C- for Kazul Envoy. Next up, Defend the Treasury. It is a fast spell at uncommon for 2 justice. Kill a unit with an even cost. This is just a B, right? Maybe B- because it is somewhat conditional, but 2 mana, 2 power, killing something. I don't know. I think this is probably B- because sometimes they are going to have a 5 cost thing you want to kill, and you're going to be like, but it's fast speed, so it opens up the door to 2-for-1s as well. I'm on B-. John?
Yeah, I could do a B or a B- with this one. Occasionally it'll be a little awkward. It usually has a relevant target. In my experience, I've played it quite a bit already. Yeah, I'm cool with a B-.
Alex, what do you think?
I'm right on board with you guys.
Yeah, all right, let's go with B-. But I mean, it's 95% of the time it's going to trade up, and it may even be a 2-for-1 because it's fast speed. So B- for Defend the Treasury, just because I could see those games where a 5 cost or a 7 cost is like,
yeah, like if they're playing,
are they playing around? Units? Are they playing around this spell? You said they play a 3, a 5, another 5.
Yeah, that's the Jedi luck right there.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Find the Moment. This is a 2 justice fast spell for give a unit +2/+2 this turn. Contract 3. Give the unit an additional +3/+3 this turn. So for 5, pretty much it's on par. For every power you spend, this thing gets a +1/+1. So 2/2, and then if you spend 5, +5/+5, and you could do it in the installment plan. Yeah, this card is fantastic. I actually think, even though it is a combat trick and you need a unit, man, gosh, am I wrong for putting this thing at a B?
That's exactly what I would put it at. I love this card.
This card is fantastic.
I had 4 in a deck. It was like the easiest 7 wins of the format for me so far. This card is so good. It's like, it's not. It's like when there's a little play and counterplay, like this will just trump most things your opponent's trying to do, like damage-based removal and combat block, double blocking, things like that. And it can just push 5 additional damage like out of nowhere. Like it's a little flexible in that way. Like, of course, like you said, it's a trick, so you need a unit, but you're playing units in limited, whatever. So good.
All right. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, not usually will a trick be a card that pulls you into a color, but this is like first pick pulls you into green. Play as many of them as you can. So yeah, I'm right there with you guys. It's great.
Nice. Find the Moment has found its B. Next up, Shiftstone Sniper. +1/+1. We're seeing a theme here. Maybe it's a cycle. +1/+1 weapon. So it can go on a unit as well. Or it can only go on a unit. Correction. For 2 justice, summon, draw a card. John, is cycling cantripping worth a +1/+1? There's no renown in the format.
Yeah, it can be. Like, there's like Aegis units, some with lifesteal, some flying. They don't mind getting a buff while drawing a card. There's the usual draft cards like the 3/3 that gets quick draw when you buff it, and like the 3/3 that gets lifesteal when you buff it. And then there's a 3/3 that stuns when you put a weapon on it. Like there's a good amount of uses for just a random weapon, and this replaces itself the moment you play it. It's efficient, 2 cost. That being said, yeah, it's still just a weapon. It's not a huge buff, but it's like a tempo play. It's pretty good. I think it's like a C.
Okay, what about you, Alex?
Yeah, like because it replaces itself. I'm also there with a C. There's quite a bit of weapon synergies currently in the format, so I like it.
Man, I'm lower on it because I feel like there's just more. There's better things to be putting in your deck. This isn't quite worth a card slot, but I'll trust you guys, so we'll go to a C then. I trust you.
I
it
could
seems
do
a little
C-, but
okay.
I
the problem
a little bit.
like to me, this card is based on how many things it triggers and the strength, the quality, the depth of the format, right? And right now I feel like you're not hurting on playables, right? Because people are still running 15 power decks and still making cuts. So like, but you know, all right. So we'll go C minus. We'll go C minus because I feel like this would be one of the cuts. You're like, yeah, sure, I'll run this. And then when you're making your deck, you're like,
Yeah,
So-
that is definitely true. Like I'm never cutting like a Find the Moment for a Shiftstone Sniper.
yeah.
It gets replaced by like inscribe cards, basically.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
there's an
next-
inscribe weapon. So
Speaking of Find the Moment, this is super cool. I like this because we actually only saw this off of it being created from another card, and then now we're actually seeing the card itself, which is super cool. Surprisingly uncommon. So this is Steel Golem. This is a Golem at uncommon for 2 justice, and it has double damage. And it's a 1/1. I'm sorry, it's a 1/1 with double damage. There's not enough things in this format to give flying on the spot or overwhelm. So I don't feel like this card once again is worth a card. But you guys have also mentioned being shy on playables, plus all the or correction 2 drops, and there's a bunch of stuff that can modify this guy. I'm still not very high on it. Alex, let's go to you first.
Yeah, this is kind of like play this guy if you have to. Maybe if you have a lot of weapon synergies, some brigade hauls, maybe. But it's still like a D plus.
Yeah, because I mean, we paid 2 more mana, 2 more power for 1 attack, but on the outlaw, no, I forgot, contract killer. What is it? You know, guys, what I'm talking about? The 2/1 that either makes you a 1/1 or silences something.
yeah,
But I feel like that
Something
flexibility, yeah, you know, and then obviously the other one that we're paying for double damage, it's a flyer. So yeah, meh. What about you, Alec? Or correction, John?
yeah, D plus works for me.
Cool.
Yeah, begrudgingly playable.
All right, fair enough. Let's move on. Next up, Tower Lookout is a 3/2 soldier at common for 2 justice. Contract 3, ready your exhausted units. I like this card. 3/2 for 2 is on par at Justice. That's what we expect from Justice. And the fact that later in the game you can kind of get an attack and your opponent's like, oh, okay, I just won't block it. I'll get to crack them, you know, hit them on the crackback. And then all of a sudden you pay this to get all your guys back. I think that's super cool. I don't think either of these effects even put together is super busted. So I'm just at an even C with this guy. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree completely. It's just on rate, but 2 drops are sparse, like we've mentioned. So, you know, depending on how your deck is going, you may prioritize it a little higher than a C. But yeah, it's just a C by itself.
Alex?
Yeah, not much to add. You're completely fine running this guy. C.
All right. Oh, John, why don't you take this one? Brigade Hall is, that's so weird. Why does it have, all right, I guess, whatever. It is a 3 justice relic at uncommon. Once per turn, you may pay 5 to give a unit +3/+3 and endurance this turn. But there's more. Summon, play a 3/3 bear. John, what do you think
Yeah.
about Brigade Hall?
This is so good, right? It got nerfed before the set even came out, between spoilers and when the set came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it used to be 4 to summon a bear, and then the effect didn't cost 5. It was like, it was like 2 or 3 or something ridiculous. It would have been absolutely busted like that. I think it's like really good, but it's like paying 5 is a real cost. But like, yeah, this is just so good. I mean, like, what's the worst case scenario? It's a 3/3 for 3, a single pip of justice. Like, that's already
Yeah, exactly.
like, on rate, and then it's just all this juicy upside. Yeah, it's probably like, man, it might even be like a B. That's like B minus. It's definitely a very first pickable card, and like, you know, a lot of the rares it's in contention with for that are like double pips or like multicolored things like that. And so this is a splashable card. You know, you put it in any deck. If you get a few sources of justice, maybe some inscribed justice cards in the same deck, you'll play it. So it's a great first pick.
Inherently, every card we've seen like this does not affect the board the turn you play it. but the upside is there, so you play it anyways. This card affects the board right away. So yeah, I am comfortable going a B on a Brigade Hall. It's 1 pip, so you can easily splash it like you mentioned. Yeah, this card is solid. I don't think you're disappointed to have it in any of your decks. Alex?
I mean, I was just gonna say, well, we put cards like this in our deck that doesn't leave the 3/3 bear behind. Yeah, solid B. Great card.
B from Brigade Hall. Next up is Mithril Guardian. This is a 0/5 Oni Paladin for 3 justice, and it has inscribed. This is an F, right?
No.
Really?
No.
I would not.
Good, but it's definitely not an F. Like it's a power that, like, if it, it's like if it's in your deck and it turns out you're playing aggro, you're happy to have a 0/5. Like, it'll just help you not just die.
I just normally have so many 3 drops in my deck. Like 3 is always a contested slot for me in my decks. Maybe it's the way I draft, but I just never. We never played the 06 with stealth. We never played the 06 with flying. Like, I don't know.
No,
Talk to me. Go ahead. Break it down. Break it down.
There's some late game stuff in this format. Like, you can just kind of have a late game plan in mind, and this is like a good way to get there. And it's a power, right? A depleted power at times where you need that. It has a lot of competition in the inscribed slot, and like if you're playing any kind of aggressive to mid-range deck, this is not something you prioritize. But if you're short on inscribe, you'll still put in your deck as a power, I think. And if you realize you're up against a very aggressive deck, you'd be happy you have it.
I don't know. I have issues with stuff that doesn't kill things. What about you, Alex?
There's a dorky synergy card. That's the next one we'll talk about if you want to get a little crazy with it. But yeah, no, I see what you're saying, but like, I mean, I'd rate it like a D.
Okay. All right, fair. I can do that. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, it's like my least favorite inscribe card that I will play. It's begrudgingly playable inscribe.
Mm-hmm.
So D. I like that.
I mean, to see how high that neck armor looks on him, he's not very happy about being in the deck either. So, Mithril Guardian, you get a D. Next up is Realize Your Potential. Oh, that's aptly named. For 3 and a Justice, you get a fast spell uncommon, give a unit Aegis, and it gets Strength and Health, or its Strength and Health becomes the higher of the 2. I see what you're getting at, John. So I'll make you wait. Alex, what do you think of Realize Your Potential?
I mean, if you have like a lot of those guardians, I guess, if some really amazing bomb that you want to try to protect or something, but I don't like cards like this generally. I'm at a D.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I agree with what Alex said. Like, if that card we talked about earlier, Diminish, becomes like super meta and like everyone's just running this or splashing it or something, I think this card gets a little better, because after your unit gets diminished, this will always like, buff the crap out of it and give it an Aegis, like after it's already been diminished. So like, in a different version of the format, maybe it's a little better. But like, I'm not into the whole like play 2 bad cards to like do some goofy combo and have that be your game plan. But I do agree with potentially protecting a unit, but like I would play any number of Find the Moments over this. Right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the problem is that we've had 3 and 2 power Aegis, give a unit Aegis before, and we've never played them. So I just
but this is more powerful than that, I think.
To a point. Not always, but to a point. Like, it does nothing on a pop.
No.
It does nothing on a beta.
No, but
so
like your flyers are usually like lopsided, like 2/4s or things like that.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I haven't seen a pop in forever.
Either way, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with 3. We'll go with a D for Realize Your Potential. Okay. Next up, Alex, you can take this one. Curfew Patrol is a 3/3 Paladin uncommon for 4 Justice. Aegis, Lifesteal, I like it. Contract 3, Silence an exhausted enemy unit. So close. Alex, what do you think?
So like sometimes it can be tricky to get the silence off. So you just end up playing it as a 3/3 Aegis Lifesteal for 4, which is still just great. This is like a B or a B plus for me.
Ooh, bold statement from the Alex. John.
Yeah, I'm on B for this. I can't rate it higher than Brigade Hall, I don't think, but there's a lot of support. Like I've found myself if I'm like in Huru playing the dorky, like I forget the name of the card, but it's like it's a 3/3 for 4 with just Aegis, not lifesteal, and it can't contract 3 to silence a unit either. Like this is like just better than that basically. Like Aegis is really good in this format. There's we'll talk about the wings here in a minute. It's like the perfect like unit to combo with wings. It's already got the protection, it's got the lifesteal, like that can just so easy to race with something like this. And yeah, like that contract 3 actually comes up a reasonable amount, and like Alex said, it can be a little awkward, but you can usually manufacture a situation where it's definitely going to hit if you try. So I like this card a lot, but I can't rate it higher than Brigade Hall. I'll just do a B.
Of note as well that it says exhausted. Oh, enemy. Never mind. You can't do your own guy. All right, fair enough. Yeah, all right. I'm fine with that. I was gonna go B minus. I'm good with B. So B for Curfew Patrol. Next up, I love the artwork and I never play this card. Keep Your Distance is a fast spell for 4 justice. Prevent all damage that an enemy unit would deal this turn and give it void bound. It's a shackles. It's like that time spell, but 4 is just so much power to leave up. And you have to make sure that you're winning that combat.
This card should have inscribe.
And it doesn't hit the player. So yeah, this card just doesn't like it. It seems okay, but I cost and not having a it's a D, right? I think D is a good card. Like you could play it, but you really don't want to.
No, if it had inscribe, I'm with Alex. This card should just have inscribe, and it would maybe make some decks. No, I think it's an F with the way it's printed. Like I've been kind of keeping my eye out, and I think this already is like the early front runner for most last picked card.
Yeah, fair.
I haven't seen one played yet, so I think
I have not either. And this is literally like the last card in a vast majority of the packs I've seen.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. F for Keep Your Distance. We are going nowhere near you, my friend. Next up, Prize Fighter. +3, or not +3. Prize Fighter is a 3/3 Oni for 4 justice. When you play a weapon on Prize Fighter, she gets lifesteal this turn. God, like that artwork makes her look so good. I want her to be so good, but she's just not. It's like, she's just a straight D or C minus. John, what do you think?
Yeah, like D plus. I could go D plus. It's basically a 3/3 for 4. Like,
but the artwork is so good. She needs to be. Units. Yeah. All right, so D plus.
Sure.
Are you? That's where you're at, Alex?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say D. Sure, D plus.
D is fine.
D plus for Prize Fighter. I mean, dude, look at those eyes, bro. She means business.
She looks hardcore, but she is a softie.
One of the more vicious Onis I've seen, to be honest with you. She's like, I'm not picking up a guitar or a pen. I'm just gonna beat people. All right, and they. Anyways, next card. Last Light Refugee is a 3/5 Paladin. Now we're talking. Those are the stats I like to see. For 5 double J, Endurance and Valor. I think I still like this card. I think this card is a C+. A 3/5 Valor gets in there. Endurance means it can block as well. 3/5 is normally good stats in Eternal for the most part. I think there's a good chunk of X4s or 4Xs. Can't really splash it, but you weren't going to splash this card anyways. I like this guy. I think he's a C+. Alex?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. C+. Great card.
John?
C+ for me too.
Yeah, this guy wears equipment or weapons phenomenally. All right, C+ for Last Light Refugee. Next up, Star-Kissed Wings. This is a +2/+1 weapon for 5 justice, flying and inscribe. John, talk to us about Star-Kissed Wings.
Yeah, this is like a premium inscribe card for any justice deck. If you have 2 in the deck, you never mind inscribing the first one. It's it's just really good. Obviously it's got the weapon issue where you kind of open yourself up to getting 2 for 1. But there's some things you can put it on that can just straight up run away with the game. There's units that when they attack draw cards. There's Aegis lifesteal we just talked about, you could put it on. You do need to be mindful of, like, if you put it on this refugee, just the wings and the refugee, it only has 6 health at that point, which that's like in chloric range. So you do kind of need to like watch out for that kind of stuff. That's why having an Aegis is like just so nice. It like it makes them have to commit 2 things to kill your guy that you've committed some resources to. But
But
at
it
the
doesn't get
end
hoof
of the day,
stomped.
it was just a power in your deck anyway. So
Mhm.
it has that going for it very much. But it is like you know, as far as tempo, it costs 5, right? So it's a heavy hit to your tempo. So you usually have it be like your last thing, and you know, hopefully you got a really good target for it. But it's quite good. I'd say like, I don't know, C plus, B
Yeah,
minus.
I like C plus.
C
I like
plus.
C plus.
Yep.
Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, it's one of the better inscribed cards. C plus.
C plus for wings. Next up, Svetya's Decree. Let me just say that no knock against the artist. Like, I think she looks fine, but this is not my favorite depiction of Svetya. Not sure why. I can't tell you, but I'm not a big fan of the pictures. But anyway, moving along, there's my little 2 cents. Svetya's Decree is a spell uncommon for 5 double J. Inscribe. Draw cards until you have as many in hand as the enemy player. I mean, I know it says inscribe, but F, right?
Nah. At the end of the day, it's a power, right? And it's very, very dependent of the game. So you know if you need it as a power, you know? And it might draw you some cards, so I don't think it's an F.
Yeah, it can't be an F. It's
I
just
mean,
a power
so-
that does something.
Like maybe a D plus, maybe like
Just a D for me. I mean, it has like these, you know, the wings. Like I would just play any number of wings over the first decree. But if you don't have your 4 inscribes or whatever, you definitely put this in your deck.
I mean, what is the best case scenario for this? You're drawing 3 cards off of it. You're paying 5 to draw 3 cards, right? Because
Gunner drew 5, so that's the best I've heard.
what? How do you possibly draw? What is
You-
his
you
opponent
get-
just sandbagging?
You get paired
Power?
against male, and he's grinding his wheels and has like 5 cards in his hand late game.
Because, like, in my head, by the time you play this, your opponent's gonna have like a 5 or 6 drop, a removal spell, and then maybe a power or not, right? And I don't know. I feel like you are
I've
going,
seen,
you are
Magical Christmas Land. I mean, Eternal Christmas Land or whatever.
you are going down a card because when you play this, it does get out of your hand. So it's at least going to replace itself, right? Maybe. And then, I don't know. All right, fine. But either way, you guys said D, so I'm fine. I don't think that's a big difference from D and F. So, all right, fine. Svetya's Decree gets a D. Like, I think you're going to draw some cards off of it, but then there's just some times where you're not going to. Plus, you're taking a whole turn off to do it.
Yeah.
So,
You're going to take that turn off anyway because you just drew a power.
or play some. Oh, yeah, I guess if you have an empty hand. I don't know. Fair. All right. Next up, Hypnotic Elder is a 2/4 bird for 6 justice. Flying, contract 4, stun an enemy unit. Alex, where are you at on this Hypnotic Elder?
I think it should cost 5. I think this card is crap, and I vow to never play any, so I give it an F.
Okay, then. John, counter argument?
It also just looks so dorky, like this bird. I just want to. But
Like,
anyway, like I was right there with Alex. But man, some of my opponents were playing this like in the open this weekend, and it looked and played a lot better than it looks on paper. So like I've kind of come around on it. I still haven't actually put it in any of my decks, but like I'm a little more willing to, having seen it in action.
Okay.
I think it might be more like a D,
Okay.
you know?
I'll keep a more open mind about it.
Yeah, both times I saw it played against me, it actually looked kind of good, honestly.
I'll wait to lose to it once or twice before I start playing to it. So, all right, D for Hypnotic Elder. Next up, this one I'm still on the fence about. Gosh, this one's so like hit or miss. Roosting Griffin is a 5/4 Griffin for 7 double J. Flying. When Roosting Griffin attacks, your other units are invulnerable to damage this turn. Doesn't matter if they're attacking or not. Doesn't matter if on the ground or flying. All that they care about is that Roosting Griffin is attacking. When that happens, all your dudes are invulnerable to damage this turn. 7's a lot. And I don't have enough experience in the format to know if you can consistently get there or not, if the format is slow enough. I mean, it's a beater on its own. A 5/4 flyer is going to be one of the biggest things in the air, if not the biggest thing hands down. And it can offer some attacks on the ground that you couldn't have done before because of double blocks or whatever. So that's pretty solid as well. But man, 7 is a lot. And it does have that horrible looking 4 health, which means Searing Fist can take it out pretty easily. You do have to go into depth on the chloric, but I don't know. I'm not. This is another card that I think is a C- for me. I think it'll win some games, but I think there's gonna be plenty of times where it's just you're gonna die with it sitting in your hand, or you're gonna play it and take your whole turn off to do it, and then your opponent's gonna kill it before it can attack. So I'm probably at a D+, C- with this guy. I'll let you guys kind of ease me in. So John, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it looks like it might be powerful, but that 4 health is a big deal. It dies to most things that your opponents are playing. It's just a huge liability. I don't really like this card. I like it slightly more than the last bird we just mentioned, so I'd say like a D+ for me.
I mean, it dies to all 3 of them, right? It dies to Searing Fist, it dies to Hoof Stomp, and it dies to Chloric Mix or whatever.
It sure does.
Yeah, and 4 damage to an attacking unit.
Oh yeah, Lightning Strike too. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Any of these 4, you're prioritizing 4 attack relic weapons in general too, just because of Aegis units.
Mm-hmm.
So I think most people are packing an answer for this.
Yeah, I think this guy's a D+. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, if it costs 6, it would be kind of busted, right?
Mm-hmm.
But 7 puts it kind of almost unplayable, D+, C-.
All right, fair enough. We'll go D+. Not spend too much time on it. We'll have to see how it plays out. But yeah, I think that 4 health really, really does it dirty. It needs either or. It needs to be a 5/4 for 6, or it needs to be a 5/5 for 7. And even then, it's kind of questionable. All right, last card in Justice is Rune Sword, and I got super excited until I saw what its power cost was. +4/+4 relic weapon for 7 Justice and Inscribe. It's got Inscribe. I think that saves it most of the time, but it's going to be a power 90% of the time, right, John?
Yeah, I guess I'm running a lot of these in my Justice decks. Definitely 1 or 2, I think, in every Justice deck I've played. Yeah, games do kind of tend to get to 7, but this immediately does something when you play it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
With the 4/4, it's not too hard to get a 2-for-1 off of it. It can open up attacks that turn, maybe to just win. And downside is it's a power. So if you're playing 2, you just never care about playing the first one as a power to help you get to play your bigger costing things or your second Rune Sword. I usually take Wings over it, but yeah, I
think that's right.
I like having 1 or 2 of these in any Justice deck as one of my Inscribe cards.
Mm-hmm. So C or C-?
Yeah, I'd probably say C. I mean, I'd still take units. I mean, it depends what your deck needs, obviously, but yeah, C or C-. Yeah, I'm not sure, honestly.
Okay. Alex?
Yeah, Inscribe for the win. I give it a C.
All right. C for Rune Sword. That's Justice. Which takes us to Primal. Starting off, we have Frostpack Sprite. This is a 1/1 Sprite for 1 blue. Flying. Contract 4, stun an enemy unit. It stays stunned while you have Frostpack Sprite. I personally don't like this card. The other Sprite that does this ends up being just a turn stun or whatever. It's actually, I think it plays out pretty poorly. But John, you're higher on it, so talk to me about it.
Yeah, I think I like this. Maybe I've never been that big on Ice Sprite, the 3-cost one, but this one, the fact that it only costs 1 and still has the same attack, I find it to be pretty decent in like aggressive decks because you're like putting as many units into play early as you can, and like maybe on turn 3 or 4 your last few cards are like 2 drop, 1 drop, or whatever you have, maybe a cheap removal. This lets you play out your hand, and for that one last power you can just play a 1/1 flyer, and it's like a great tempo play, right? Like, yeah, you're basically taking your next turn off, but like basically on that turn for 1 power, you get to stun their only thing that was able to block, get a whole, an alpha, maybe not alpha, but like an all attack in. And then if they don't have an answer for it, you probably get to get another big attack in next turn, and like just until they draw an answer for it. And if you're being that aggressive, they probably burnt their, answer on something else already. So I've found that it plays better than it looks, especially if you're using it like in an aggressive deck.
Okay.
I'd still like wouldn't rate it extremely high, like, but I'd say like a C- for this.
Okay. All right, Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm right there with John. I like how you can do it early to get a troublesome unit out of the way, at least for a little bit, to let you get another way to deal with it. It's pretty versatile for the 1/1 flyer. So yeah, I like it a lot.
All right, fair enough. I'll give it to you guys then. So what are we gonna go with?
C minus.
Let's say C-.
Okay.
All right, C- for Frostpack Sprite. Next up, Lethrai Pathfinder is a 2/1 Elf Explorer for 1 blue. Contract 2, draw a card, then discard a card. So slightly better, slightly worse. Whatever. The other cartographer or whatever. I think this card's just a C. Like, I think it's fine. Nothing too exciting about it. It may be C-, but I think a C is fine for this card. What do you think, John?
Yeah, it is like pretty directly comparable to cartographer. It's like it's a little awkward, like running it out literally on turn 1 with the like. It's a lot. It's kind of tricky to do a contract that early in the game. You don't necessarily know what you want to pitch, but that like having that be a contract as opposed to just a thing you have to do means you can always just run it out and like not have, if you're down to 1 card and you just don't want to get rid of it, means you can't play your Doric blocker or whatever. So like I think it's probably a little better than cartographer, so maybe it is a C.
What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I like it as a C. It's the 1-drop that late game does a little filtering. Yeah, I like it.
All right, C for Lethrai Pathfinder. Next up, Teriak's Mount is a 1/2 Dinosaur Explorer at uncommon for 1 blue. Contract 2, give a unit +1/+1 in flying. I think this card is great. I think it's fantastic. I'm on C+. It's actually, if we went the lifesteal, this is probably a B-, because flying, I think, is better than lifesteal. I could be wrong, but I don't know. It gives evasion versus just kind of giving you a clock change. So I like this card. Yeah, we'll go B- for Teriak's Mount. Alex, where are you at on it?
Well, if we went like C+ on charge, B- on lifesteal, I would give flying a B.
Wow, all right. Holy cow. Fair enough. John, are you on there too?
Yeah, I'm on B-. I think it's like comparable to the lifesteal one, and I love playing both in the same deck.
I mean, base, it's a 2/3 flyer for 3, right? Baseline.
Yeah, if you have a few of them in your deck and you're like pretty aggressive, you can just run this out as a 2/3 flyer on turn 1, which is kind of nice. But that's usually not what I use it for.
Fair enough. All right, Teriak's Mount, B-.
Boo.
Next up. Wow, whatever. Trick Throw is a 1 blue spell. Deal 2 damage. You may transform a card in your hand into a snowball. It's a slow spell. It could go anywhere though, so it's comparable to Char. And then sometimes if you need to, it could do 3 damage. But gosh, that also costs you a card. I guess if it's power, I don't know. C+ for me. It's really difficult to get 2-for-1. Actually, I think it's almost impossible to get a 2-for-1 at this because it's slow speed. So I'm at a C+ because at least it's efficient. There's a decent amount of X2s in this format. You could probably trade up on power. John?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like C plus, like this is pretty decent actually. And like when you need two things dead and it can kill two things, you are happy that it has that transform into a snowball ability. And it works nice with stealth because you can poke a stealth unit with it, and like if it turned out it was like a X3 and not an X2, you then like you it reveals the unit, and then you can decide after it reveals it to then go for the snowball to finish it off. Like you're not just punished for immediately transforming it or anything like that. It just works nice with against stealth units. So it plays out pretty good actually, and it goes like I've actually used this in a few games to finish off my opponent, just like 3 to the face. So it has that flexibility as well.
Fair enough. All
Yeah,
right, where
John,
you at on Alex?
I mean, John just said the last thing I was going to say, where it's like it's 3 in a pinch if you have a card to transform for 2, basically. So that's pretty good. Yeah, I give it a C plus.
C plus. All right, fair enough. C plus for Trick Throw. This one, here we go. John, you can talk about this one. Caloric Mix is a fast spell for 2 primal. Deal 3 damage to an attacking enemy. Contract 2, deal 6 damage instead. Oh, so good.
So
John.
good.
Yeah, this is great. This is just like, we always kind of like biting winds. We always like lightning strike. This is like the best of all worlds, basically. It's it still doesn't get through Aegis, obviously, which no spell does, but like the best use of this is to set up some kind of favorable or even kind of a block trade that you're willing to accept, and then you force your opponent to go for their trick first, and then you 2-for-1 them with a caloric mix. Like that's the best use, and like that's not terribly difficult to set up. But I think it's gotten people like know about it already, like 10 days into the format, like people are playing around it already and things like that. So it has that kind of downside, but if you actually have it, they can't play around it forever. So yeah, it's just great. I think it's probably like a solid B, maybe B
Yeah,
minus. What did we give Find the Moment?
B.
Yeah, it's like I like Find the Moment just a little bit better, but I think we could still say B on this.
Yeah, I'm fair with that. I think it's very efficient removal. I'm good with B. Alex?
Yeah, pulls you in the blue for sure. B.
All right. Next up is Stoke Ambition. This is a 2 primal spell at uncommon. Transform a non-power card in the player of your choice's hand into a seek power. I don't like this card, but maybe I'm wrong. John?
No, I don't think I'll ever play this. I'd say it's an F.
Okay, cool. Alex?
Like, I want to like it, but F.
Sweet. F for Stoke Ambition. Next up, Storm Blast. This is a 2 primal fast spell at uncommon. Deal 4 damage to an enemy unit or site played this turn, or negate an enemy spell with cost 4 or less. I think it's extremely situational. I'm on D with it. I think it'll have its moments, and 2 isn't too difficult to leave up, but they have to play it this turn, the turn you have it up, and it's 4 damage, so it doesn't kill absolutely everything. I think it's a D. I think there's better removal in this format, especially in the same color for the same cost. It's even cheaper, etc., blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I'm on D with Storm Blast. Alex?
This has gone up for me just recently, actually, because of the counter spell, actually, part of it, and I put it into the C minus range.
Okay. Duly noted. Yeah, I get. Yeah, all right, fair. What about you, John?
Yeah, I agree with Alex. Like, the negate an enemy spell with cost 4 or less is like the mode that's most useful in most games, because holding up 2 to like maybe like deal 4 to a unit, like that's we all kind of liked what's the shadow one, right?
Fatal Misstep.
Yeah, misstep. Like, but this doesn't kill everything. And man, it's there's a lot, like everyone's playing impactful spells. Like occasionally they'll cost like 6 and this won't hit it, but like, if you're willing to run like a negate effect, this one hits most things, and it also has the upside of, it almost can negate a unit, which Eternal doesn't really have unit negation, right? So it's not it is nice and flexible. Like I could even go as high as a C for this. But yeah, C minus is cool.
Okay, C minus for Storm Blast. I guess you're right. I kind of negated the negate a spell side of it, but most of the things that are relevant are going to be a little on the cheaper side. Fair enough. I can get behind that. Next up, Zoltan Ambassador is a 1/1 Yeti at uncommon for 2 primal. When you play a hero, draw a card. D, right? Because, I mean, hero matter, it's a 1/1 for 2, which isn't horrible, but it's definitely not great. I mean, what, you want to draw 2 cards, 3 cards off of this before you're happy about it, John?
I don't think I'll ever play this. I think it's just an F, honestly.
Okay, fair. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, like you had rated a little bit higher, so I was like D minus, I guess. But even desperate, I don't want to put this in my deck. I'd rather put like a 6-drop, like a random 6-drop. F.
I'd rather play a
Cool.
Yeti Spy. I feel like that's a 1/1 that'll draw a card more often than this stupid thing. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, I'm with you. We'll go to F for Zoltan Ambassador. I mean, it's a build around, but once again, there's no common.
Make it a 2/1. Come on.
Yeah, there's no common enablers for it, and I think that's what really hurts the build around. Next up is Dardamus Iceblade, a 2/3 Yeti warrior at uncommon for 3 double primal. Your other units have +1 health, period. Contract 3, play an inferiority complex on an enemy unit, and this is a curse that makes the unit reckless. I like this guy. 2/3 for 3 is not fantastic, but it's not horrible by no means. I think it's fine. It does buff the rest of your team so they block better. Occasionally will attack better, and then you can get someone pesky out of the way with this inferiority complex. So I like this guy. I think he's a C+. John?
Yeah, I think C+ is fair. Like, could even be a B minus, but the double pip definitely hurts as a 3-drop. But yeah, it's probably a C+. It's basically like situational removal on a stick that kind of, like Snowfort's a card. This is like Snowfort on a stick, right? Like,
Except you don't play Snowfort.
yeah, I've seen some people do it, but no, like that's not a card I normally play. But like that effect is kind of nice, especially on a 2/3 that probably killed something. If it doesn't kill something like, immediately, maybe you have the board to deal with it in like a turn or two, and like, sometimes just getting something out, even if you don't plan on blocking it, like just if you're being aggressive, that just gets the blocker out of the way, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
I think they get better the more you have. Because
yeah, they buff each other.
Yeah, that is very true. That is true. I don't think it's B level for sure. So would you give it, Alex? C+? All right, yeah. C+ for Dardamus Iceblade. I'm okay with that.
But if you have like 3 in your deck, they might be like B minuses or something,
No, let's not get crazy here, guys. Come on now. I'll have to lose to it before I go that high. Next up, Ice Over. This is a fast spell for 3 primal. Inscribe and then stun an enemy unit. You gain an Aegis. John, what about this card?
Yeah, I like it. This is one of the inscribes. I like if I'm primal, I typically have 1 or 2 of these in any deck I'm playing primal in. I think it works best with, it's a fast stun, right? So as we all know, like that works best alongside like larger units. So I think it's extra good in like Elysian. But yeah, I mean, it's a power that, sometimes lets you push damage. Sometimes it lets you kill a thing like with a double block. And, when you play it, not as a power, but when you play it as a spell, it also gains you an Aegis, which is quite relevant in this format. Between face damage and things like eavesdrop, we'll talk about later in Shadow. Like a lot of people are playing that, and it's a solid effect. It helps protect you from just random things like that. Some cursed relics, that kind of stuff. So it's like sometimes you can even just play it to interrupt that kind of stuff. So it's like has even more situations where it's relevant other than just the stun. And yeah, downside is it's a depleted primal source. So I think it's pretty good. Like C minus, something like that for me.
I'm good with C minus. Alex, what do you think?
I was gonna give it a C, but I'm
Yeah, I
down with
think
C.
C is fair too. Like I could go either.
Okay, I'm good with C minus. I'm good with C minus. I think it will have some good parts and some bad parts, but it's not super impactful at the same time. Next up, Teriax Screecher is a 2/2 dinosaur for 3 primal, flying. Contract 3, deal 1 damage to an exhausted enemy unit. I mean, 2/2 for 3 is on par, I guess, and then the occasional being able to ping something. It's a little bit of a shame that has to be exhausted. It can help you finish off something on the ground, maybe take a small flyer. I think this card is fine, probably still just a C. I don't think it creeps up high enough to be a C+, especially in this format where it seems like there's some really solid power level. What do you think, Alex?
3 is just a really contested slot so far for me in this format. So I'm at like a C minus for this guy, but it is pretty versatile with the extra ping.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I agree with what Alex said about the 3 slot being very contested, but yeah, I've killed something a non-zero amount of time with this. And sometimes you can make like a weird attack where it's like an obvious block, like a 2/3 into a 2/3, and this can finish that off, right? Because when an opponent blocks a unit, it becomes exhausted. So you can kind of try and force the contract paying a little, with a little work. But yeah, like Jedi said, it's kind of on rate, so I'm kind of on C with it. It is very contested slot though.
All right. C for Teriax Screecher. Next up, we have Scalehide. This is a 3 blue fast spell. Inscribe. Give a unit +1/+3 this turn. John, I've seen you run this card. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, it's basically like, exactly contested with iceovers in my primal decks. If I have 4, 2 of each, it's like sometimes I want 2 of one of the other. Sometimes I want one of that and 2 of the other. Like it looks kind of bad. It's like, oh, this is like a worse screw on form, but like, I mean, a trick is a trick, and this is a power and a trick, and it can help you, like, specifically, like, against things like Chloric Mix. It can just, that +3 health can push it just over the limit for that. So it's a power in your deck that does that. So I like this card about as much as Ice Over. I'd give it the same grade, like C minus.
Okay. Fair. Alex?
Yeah, like it helps against the core, just like it does against the green combat trick. Like puts you just out of the range of dying or whatever. So yeah, I like it. C.
All right. C minus for Scalehide. All right. I personally don't like this card. I haven't seen it played. You guys tell me about it, but I'm pretty low on this one. This is Thudrock's Ruse. This is a 3 primal fast spell. Play a 5/5 snowman that dies at the end of your next turn or when it deals or is dealt damage. It doesn't kill flyers. It's situational. You have to make sure you have a place where a 5/5. I don't know. If they have a fastball, they can deal some damage to it. They could just get rid of it. I don't know. I don't like this card. This card's an F to me.
Really?
Alex, John, either of you are higher on it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm higher than that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a lot of times it's the last one that I cut. I don't know about you, John, but
Definitely.
it's definitely like I could see it making the deck. It just hasn't for me yet, so I give it a D.
Okay.
I've definitely
Fair.
played it, and I've seen plenty of opponents run it as well. It's definitely one to watch out for, in games. But it's very similar to Chloric as far as trying to play around it and things like that. So you're kind of already on the lookout for this sort of effect. I think it's worse than Chloric Mix for the most part, because the Snowman doesn't have ambush, so it doesn't work against like relic weapon attacks. But for 3 mana, you get this 5/5. It's very similar to Chloric in how it plays out, except for relic weapon interaction. But it also has some additional use as if you're just racing and trying to close out the game, playing this at the end of the opponent's turn when they tried to swing out or didn't leave a blocker means you can push 5 damage next turn that they didn't see coming, kind of thing. So I've used it for that. I've used it like a worse Chloric. I think it's definitely playable. It's probably like a C- for me.
Wow.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I do, you know, if I have Chlorics, I think I'll cut this over any number of Chlorics, right? Like, but I think it's a fine removal for ground stuff. Yeah.
Like it gets cut for inscribed things for me too, usually, you know.
Yes. Yeah, same. Because you can only have so many spells in your deck unless they're inscribes.
So D plus, is that where
I
we're
could
at?
go that low, but I think it's fine.
All right, we'll go D plus because what it was F, D, and C minus. So yeah,
Sure.
D plus for Thudrock's Roost. Next up, Caustic Rain. This is a 4 primal spell at uncommon. Inscribe, deal 2 damage to each unit and sight. I like this card. And if it's bad in your deck, you just turn it into power. And when it's not and you're behind, you wipe the board either post-combat or pre-combat. I like this card. I think it's a solid C. Alex?
Yeah, you can like wreck your opponent's entire game plan. So I give it a C plus.
Okay, fair. John?
I'm with Jedi on a C because like it's hard for it not to also wreck your kind of early game stuff too. So, but yeah, it's still a power that does that, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the bad part of the
Five for the
normal
win.
cards like this is that they just stay rotting in your hand, right? Versus this one, worst case scenario, you're like, all right, well, I don't need it, so I'll just turn it into power.
Yep.
You know. So, fair enough. Caustic Rain, C. Next up, Churganth's Breath. I didn't realize he was on another card. 4 primal gets you a spell at uncommon. Choose an enemy unit, stun the rest. So I guess technically you can choose enemy unit. So what, you try to stun their 1/1 or their 2/2, or you pick that, stun the rest, and then get in there with your team. It's a spell, so you can't really do it before combat. What if the one thing they have is the one thing you want to stun? I don't particularly like this card. I don't think it's unplayable, but I don't particularly like it. It's kind of worse and kind of better than a what is it? Smoke cinder cloud or whatever, the one that exhausts everything for a turn for 4.
Cloud of Ash.
Cloud of Ash. Thank you. I don't know, the D plus, I guess, for this. That's where I'm at on it. What do you think, John?
Yeah, it's situational, whether it's good or not, and it's like both situational on your board state and the opponent's. So I've tried it, and like sometimes it just like really doesn't do anything that you want it to, and sometimes it is like budget, it's like crystallize at home sometimes, right? So, but it doesn't have inscribe, so I feel bad when I'm running it and it does nothing. If it had inscribe, I would like it a lot more. But I'm kind of there with Jedi, like D plus for me.
Like
Alex?
I want to like it more, but I think I agree with you guys. D plus.
Okay, D plus for Jurgath's Breath. Snowpeak Eagle is next. It's a 2/3 bird for 4 primal. Flying, Aegis, Inscribe. I like this card. I like this card quite a bit. I think it's still a C plus, but I could be wrong. You could talk me up to a B minus. I think this card is fantastic. I mean, shoot, I'm trying it in Constructed. A couple of people knocked me, but I don't know. I think the card's strong. Because worst case scenario, it's a power. Best case scenario, boom, you get a decent fly. I mean, I guess it's flipped. In Limited, it's better as the flyer than the power, and then Constructed, it's better as the power than the flyer. But I don't know. I think that the fact that it's evasive and has Aegis makes it pretty darn strong. So I like this card. I think it's still a C plus. It needs a little something to get it over the finish line in this format, but I like it. John?
I agree completely. Like, I almost want to rate it a B minus, but like you said, it kind of needs a little something. Like, like a flying army. In mass these will be fine, but like, it's not great if you're behind, right? But yeah, it is a power that does all this, so it's very it's pretty high in the pick order, honestly, because of the inscribe. So yeah, I could go C plus or B minus on this.
Alex?
So I think like B minus would be reserved form, like a card that it would lead me into that color. And I find it hard pressed that I wouldn't find another card in a pack to pick over the Snow Peak Eagle unless it was a really bad pack. So that's why it's a C plus for me.
Okay, fair enough.
Perfect.
C plus for Snow Peak Eagle. Next up, Yeti Intellectual is a 2/2 Yeti for 4 primal. When Yeti Intellectual attacks, draw a card. Notice how it just says attack. It does not have to make contact with your opponent. I mean, this card goes great with wings. I don't think there's anything else that makes it evasive, but it has some power to it. That being said, 2 health is pretty volatile. I want to give this a good grade, but I think it's just a C, and it might be even worse. I mean, you still have to attack with it to replace itself, and it could lead your opponent to block it aggressively, and you can pump it to oblivion. Maybe it's even a C minus the more I talk about it. Alex?
I actually think you need this in a very specific deck to be good, so I think I'm more on a D plus.
Okay. All right, John, what do you think?
Man, I like this card. I want it to be awesome, but it does need a little something, like you said. I still want to rate it like a C, but I think C minus is probably more appropriate. Yeah, it's if it doesn't replace itself, then that means it ate some removal. Hopefully it was like some good removal. But yeah, like wings is a little sketchy on it because it's still just like a 3 or what does that make it, a 4/3, so it still dies to like most things. So like I don't know, I like attacking in with a lot of tricks and stuff with this Yeti. But like wings is like kind of okay with it. Yeah, it like it definitely needs something to make it good, but I think it's still okay.
Yeah, you can get away with tricks because your opponent will try to trade off with like the wimpiest unit, that will trade with it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. They're like, look at this guy, silly dude. And you're like, boom, combat trick.
Yeah, and you're happy to like every time he attacks, you get a card. So it's like it's almost like it like turns your tricks into cantrips in that sense if you have a lot of them.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Let's go C minus for Yeti Intellectual. I think there's gonna be sometimes we're gonna run away with the game, and sometimes you're not.
I talked myself up there, mid grading.
I mean, drawing a card is pretty powerful, right? And if you get 2 cards out of this guy, you're feeling pretty good because you probably at least got 1 card out of their hand in the process. So, Cloud Line Shaman is next. This is a 3/3 Shaman Serpent for 5 primal, and they finally got it right. See, the artwork matches the creature, the unit type, and the text box matches the yes. Anyways, Aegis, Contract 4, play a 3/3 Sky Serpent with flying. Yes, A+ on the lore. You did it, Direwolf. It makes sense. Good freaking job. Oh my god, and there's a wolf and a bunny in the picture too, and a bird. He's got all kinds of magician stuff going on. This dude is the heat, man. This is a tribal shaman should be. I like this card, but you guys have already gotten some busted things with it, so I'll let you guys talk about it. John, kick it off.
Yeah, it's like a very tempo positive play when you do it, right? It's a lot of stats that you're just kind of dumping on the board all at once. The only time it feels bad is when you like, also have like a 6-drop sit in your hand that you want to play. But I think that the tempo swing is worth it most of the time. It's very good. Both bodies are relevant at on turn 5 and basically any board state. If this is getting past you, I think it's like, a sign that Primal's probably going to keep flowing. After like pick 2 or 3, if you're still getting these, like, yeah, you're probably going to keep getting Primal cards. So yeah, I think it's quite good. I'd rate it like a B.
Ooh.
Love it, B.
All right. B for Cloud Line Shaman. Gosh, they finally got it right. It looks like it has flying. It has flying. It looks like a dude on a serpent, and it's a shaman serpent. It's so great. Next up, Learn to Bite. Lol. I never knew the name of this spell. It's a 5 primal spell. Transform a unit into a 5/5 Carnosaur with Killer. with killer, thank goodness, because it is a slow spell. Alex, what do you think of this guy?
I love this spell. This is a great card. Removal for blue. Turn one of the early round weenies into a 5/5 killer. I give this a B-.
B-. Wow. All right. Fair enough. I mean, 5 does kill a lot of things for sure. It would be nice if you can keep the Carnosaur around. What do you think, John?
Yeah, this is like Primal's way to, also deal with Aegis threats. Like a lot, they don't really have relic weapons. Most of their things are damage based. So, yeah, upgrade a dork, you know, hopefully you kill something that's not a 5 attack so that the 5/5 gets to stay in play. Maybe start attacking next turn. It's removal that's situational on what it can kill though, and you need a unit in play that you're willing to transform, right? But yeah, sometimes turning your 2/3 Aegis Flyer into a 5 of Carnosaur is still the play. So I think it's quite good. I think I'd rate it the same as Alex, honestly.
Wow. All right. Shoot, Alex, you went straight B or B-?
B-.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, B-.
All right. I'd be really skeptical to do this into open power, but all right, I'll trust you guys. B- for Learn to Bite. Next up, Jotun Spelljammer. This is a 4/4 giant for 6 primal and Aegis Inscribe. Yeah, this card is fine. 4/4 Aegis for 6 is not glorious, but I mean, it gets the job done and you have Inscribe on it. I think the Inscribe is what puts over the top. So this is probably C+. Alex, what do you think?
I'm just these cards are just C's. Like, this is so annoying to deal with late game, and if you need it for power, it's a power. Yeah, C.
John?
I agree. C.
All right. C for Jotun Spelljammer. And that's Primal. Man, Primal's all over the place. A little high, a little low, a little in between. Primal is there, but I don't think it's the worst color, so yay. Going into Shadow, home stretch here, we have Beyond Fear. This is a fast spell for 1 Shadow. Give a unit +4 attack this turn. Contract 3, also give it lifesteal this turn. I mean, maybe I'm spoiled because of Quick Draw, or Rapid Shot or whatever. The lifesteal, I mean, so you're paying 4 for a +4/+0 and lifesteal. I mean, I guess at the same time, +1 power for +4 isn't bad, but I kind of want to use that to either really trade up on power or to kill them. So, I don't know. I'm pretty low on this card. Alex, what do you think?
Like, instead of trading up in the combat, you're like gaining the life. So like, it's really good in a race. It's good for an aggressive deck. That being said, I don't think it's great. I'm like D+ C- on it, and it's really hard. I don't know. You guys help.
I like a D for it. I like a D. I think there's a lot better combat tricks in this format that you can run over this. What do you think? I do like the artwork though. What do you think, John?
I agree on D. I've tried it. It works better when you have, units that were like basically tokens, like generated multiple units for 1 card, like make 2 Grenadine for 1 card or something like that. It's better with things like that. It's fine with like revenge units that'll come back eventually, like, so you don't mind trading off the unit as much there either. But yeah, just like
Wait. Does it keep it? Because it says this turn.
no, but I just mean like as far as
I got you.
losing the dude,
Yeah,
you don't,
got you.
it's not like as much. You're not 2 for 1ing yourself, kind of quite as bad in those cases. So I like it more in decks that are running that kind of stuff alongside it. But just kind of with none of that going on, you're basically just signing yourself up to gain a little life to 2 for 1 yourself, and that's usually not where you want to be. So yeah, like a D is fine for me.
All right, fair enough. D for Beyond Fear. Next up, Call the Hit is a 1 shadow spell. Inscribe and then kill an enemy unit with 2 strength or less. I like this card. I like this card quite a bit. I think it's because it's removal, it's a C+, right? You use it early if you need to. If not, it gets you into your big spells. I like this card. Yeah, I think I'm good with a C+ on Call the Hit. It also facilitates your splashes. John?
Yeah, I mean, I could even go as high as a B- with this because it's because of the inscribe, and we still have stealth units, so this is like a nice way, another nice way to like kind of help identify exactly what the stealth units are and things like that. Um, like in a format in a deck where maybe you're lacking on 1 and 2 drops, maybe you couldn't find as many as you'd like this really helps fill in that early game gap. Like, so the more you have, the more likely you are to have one early. And then like, as the turns go on, like turn 3, 4, 5, this can help you bridge the gap to hit your power drops, right? Once you've identified you probably don't need it anymore. Yeah, it's pretty dang good card. I think it's like doing very well for our for the Farming Eternal 7-win spreadsheet. I think I saw some stats, and this was like, I don't know if it was the most played 7-win card right now or something. I think it was way up there. It was like in the top 10 for sure. As far as
Okay.
copies and decks.
Mm-hmm. Alex, where you at on it?
But I like this as the inscribe card in the deck that is more shadow based, whereas I like the card we'll talk about later, the 4 cost 1 more if it's the splash more, but it's still a great card. But man, B minus, C plus. I can't go B minus on it.
Yeah, I think 2 strength is pretty restrictive. So yeah, C plus for call the hit. Lothrai Trapper is next. This is a 1/1 elf for 1 shadow. Ambush. When Lothrai Trapper hits the enemy player, she gets +1 strength permanently. I don't really like this card. It's either D or an F. Alex?
I have yet to play one. I give it an F.
Okay. John?
Right there with you. I don't know if I'll ever put this in a deck.
All right. F for Lothrai Trapper. Moving on. Toxic Wisp is a 1/2 Wisp at uncommon for 1 shadow. Contract 2, give a unit +1/+1 and deadly. This card is great. I like this card. I like this card quite a bit. If we're following the rank of the cycle, it's a B minus. Alex?
Yeah, I'm right. B minus, C plus on it.
Okay. Yeah.
John.
All right, John.
Yeah, I think I like the flying and the lifesteal just a little bit more, so I guess I could say C plus.
Yeah.
But I like this guy a lot.
No, I'm good. I'm good with C plus. I am totally good with C plus. I got wrecked by this thing constructed. They gave it to Ulixa and just started pinging everything. Yeah, I am totally good with the C plus. All right, C plus for Toxic Wisp. Next up, Zido, Cabal Housecat. This is a 1/1 hero. Cat uncommon for 1 shadow. Revenge. Contract 2, the enemy player discards a card of their choice from their hand. John, do you think you can get enough value off of this card in Limited?
Definitely. It's good. It's like if you play it on 1, yeah, it works good alongside Eavesdrop. We'll talk about in a minute. It has revenge, so it's a great target for like the Wisp we just talked about. It's like it can kill something multiple times. It's like really annoying. And then like when it revenges, you can then contract again. Like, and by that time in the game, they may be down to just 1 or 2 cards or whatever. Like obviously the body doesn't do well in attacking situations without some help, but Shadow has some sacrifice stuff going on. There's additional good hand hate, like I said we're about to mention. I think it's quite playable. I'd rate it like a C plus.
Okay, I'm on a C on it because they do get the choice, so there's gonna be a fine spot where it really milks it, but the revenge happens. What about you, Alex?
I mean, it's very annoying and hand disrupting when they do this. I've had it played against me a few times, and it's played out better than I thought, so I'm going to give it a C plus.
Okay, C plus Verzido, Cabal Housecat. Next up, Collude is a 2 shadow spell.
Whoa.
A unit of, huh?
You just like on my end, it went. Whoa. I don't know. Sorry.
Oh, my bad. No worries. All right, Collude. A unit of your choice can't block that. Wait, what? A unit of your choice can't block this turn and draw a card. F? Yeah, I like they have to have one unit that you care about not blocking. It cycles, but I mean, I think any other card is. I'm on F on this card. Whatever. If you guys like it, you can talk about it. Alex, collude.
I don't like it.
Cool, John.
I have not played it yet, and I don't know if I ever will. Honestly.
Sweet. F for collude.
Okay.
Moving right along. Ursary Rider is a 2/3 Minotaur at uncommon for 2 double shadow. Contract 3, the enemy player of your that player of your choice discards the top 5 cards of their deck. I think you're just fine playing this for a 2/3. I mean, it is a little tough to play because of the double shadow, but if you're primarily shadow, it's not impossible. I don't think there's any kind of mill synergies right now in this format. You could, yeah. I don't know. I think this card's just a C, maybe even a C-, John.
And there's definitely some mill synergies. Like it's a lot of the same cards that were, in like the discard synergy from last format, right? Like in Argenport, there's plenty of things that when you mill them, they buff your, deck in some way or your hand or whatever. And like it works good against.
Question on that. If you play Ursary Rider and you contract it, right, and you discard the Racketeers, does it take your debt out first, or do you have time to pay the 2 from the Racketeers being discarded before your debt is paid?
That I haven't actually tried yet, and I can't say for sure.
Okay.
I was thinking more along the lines of like Alchemist and
the ones that are free.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't actually know the answer for sure. It could go either way. But like I was about to say, it also, if you know that your opponent's buffed the top of their deck, stuff too. So it still kind of does that stuff.
Like a killer or revenge unit. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and like a 2/3 for 2 is fine. It's the double pip kind of, like whatever. It's kind of makes it a little less good in some situations, but I think it's fine. It's like a C.
Okay. And Alex?
It's like a hard to cast 2-drop, but in a set that 2-drops can be really hard to come by, so it's a C.
All right, C for Ursary Rider. Next up, Victimless Crime is a 2 shadow fast spell at uncommon. Kill a non-hero unit. This card's A-, B+? Where are we at on this? This card's pretty much the premium removal spell of the format, right, John?
Pretty much. Well, in the draft packs, we have some good stuff. Fast Slay for 3, But as far as this set, yeah, it's like basically the best removal we have. I don't want to put it in the A category. I think it's a B+, right?
Okay, yeah, B+ is fine with me. Alex?
B+.
All right. B+ for Victimless Crime. Yeah, I guess you're right. Occasionally, the best card that they're going to have is going to be a hero, and this thing won't do it, but it's limited.
Yep.
So fair. All right. Next up is Arachnoid Terror. This is a 4/4 Nightmare Spider at uncommon for 3 shadow. Arachnid Terror can't attack or block unless it has more strength than every other unit. Yours and your opponent's. Contract 5, kill an exhausted enemy unit. So I was rating this thing as just an execute, but I guess you did make a point, John, of where it's a 8 cost execute. I don't know. Like that definitely changed it a little bit because I was like, you just play this as an execute. It's fine. If you get a unit, you do. If not, you not, and then you could sacrifice it later. But I also like the Sacrifice Stone Scar deck, and the artwork's sick. But I think you are right. This is a bit of a hefty price to pay. Maybe you just play it later in the game where it is just an execute, because early in the game it's way too easy for this thing to not attack or block, and then you're just like womp womp. Yeah, I'm probably still on a D on it. I don't know. I somewhat still like this card. John?
Yeah, I think D is kind of okay. Like, another thing about execute though is like that 2 to the face that matters. Honestly.
True. Yeah, very true. Yeah, very true.
Yeah, and 8 cost execute, but like I've seen some opponents, kind of build around this a little bit.
Like a low to the ground 3x
Yeah, and,
deck.
and like it got in like a couple attacks, and in those cases, yeah, it can be quite good. But like those situations, I think are going to be hard to come by. I think mostly it'll look pretty dumb. I think I like your idea about possibly sacking it or something. Like I think alongside maybe Brigade Hall is a way to kind of get it in there as well.
Ooh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, but I've also seen the super downside where an opponent played two of these and they just negate each other. Like neither can ever attack or block. It's like, okay,
Well,
you basically just spent 4 turns or whatever, like do it, yeah, it's like over 4 turns you got to kill two things that have already attacked you like 4 times, or two for the one, four for the other.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's not an execute technically, right? It's
Well,
just
kill an exhausted enemy unit.
yeah, but it doesn't do 2 damage to the
That's what I'm
opponent.
saying. Like that 2 damage on execute is part of the reason I like it so
Yeah.
much.
Oh, gotcha. I misunderstood you for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think, I guess one of the probably quote unquote better curve outs you can have with this is like play it on 4, contract for 5, right? And then on turn 6 you play the hunter or whatever we're gonna talk about in a minute to sack this to kill something else, but even that's kind of like pushing it or whatever. So all right, fair enough. Alex, you have anything to add about Arachnoid Terror?
No.
All right. D for the Terror. Next up, Lethrai Kidnapper is a 3/1 elf bat at uncommon for 3 double shadow. Flying, summon, the enemy player discards a unit of your choice from their hand. Entomb, the enemy player draws a card. So presumably you play this, you get the removal spell that they would use to kill Kidnapper out of their hand.
No, I don't
and
think
then you
it's
bash.
units.
Oh yeah, you're right. My bad. It's okay, I guess. But what happens? What happens if you play this and then you look? I mean, I guess they still discarded, so they don't get that unit back. So if they have a bomb, yeah, I think this card's fine. C plus. It's a flyer. I mean, they have to have a unit in their hand, so maybe it's the whiffs. Maybe it is just a C. I don't know. With my luck, I'd always whiff, and then they'll have like a free 1 damage to kill it. So I don't know. Probably just a C for me. Alex, where are you at on the Thread Kidnapper?
I get at a C plus if you could play it on curve.
I mean, the problem is if you play it and they don't have a unit to get rid of, and then they kill it, then they're up a card, which is pretty horrible. But I don't know. All right, John.
Yeah, I think it's a C plus, honestly. I think people are always playing units in limited, right?
Yeah.
And a 3/1 beater in there is pretty decent usually. So I think C plus is fine.
Okay. The only problem is they also play their units, right? So you really want to play this somewhere on the curve in the development phase, because I think once you get into the late game, when everyone's playing out all their units, this card's not going to do that much. But I see, yeah, all right, fine. C plus for a Lethrai Kidnapper. Ritual Dagger is a +2/+2 weapon for 3 shadow. Summon, you may sacrifice another unit, or correction, you may sacrifice a unit other than the wielder to give the wielder +2/+2. Oh, okay. So the dagger is always going to be a +2/+2, but then it gives another +2/+2 to the unit. For some, I mean, I haven't played this card yet, but in my head, every time I like flash read it, I just figured it gave itself the +2/+2. Okay, that's not too bad, actually. So you get permanent +4/+4, pseudo permanent for 3, and I don't know. Once again, I like the Stone Scar Sack deck. You can hold this to see if maybe, I don't know. +4 has hate, kind of has charge, right? Because the unit can get in there that turn. Sure. You still have to sack a unit. I'm gonna give it C minus. Still a C minus for me on Ritual Dagger. I think that's fair. You still need to have a unit, and then you want to have another unit to sacrifice. Yeah, C minus for Ritual Dagger from me, John.
Yeah, like if you do have something you don't care to sacrifice, like some 1/1 Grenadine or something, it's like a better Thorn Beast, right?
Yeah, because you can slap on like an invasive unit.
Yeah. But the fail case for Thorn Beast is you can play a 3/3 for 3, so it doesn't have that going on. but like it has higher upside. And the fact that it gives the wielder +2/+2, that's a permanent stat buff. So if you slap it on
Yeah,
like a
revenge.
revenge unit or something, it's pretty good too. I'm cool. Like I'm cool with like a C minus. Like C minus seems a little low for this. Like I do keep cutting these though, just because I like I'm not really going into, you know, I don't have the units that I just want to sacrifice for the most part.
Yeah.
And I haven't really had it alongside things like, you know, the Aegis Flyer yet. But I think this is a pretty good weapon.
You know what's funny? I don't think it's boosted now, but the 2/1 that we talked about, the Sheriff Deputy or whatever it is, the 2/1 double damage that makes a 1/1, right?
Oathbook Officer?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I feel like that card would be good in this format because it gives you, it's a relevant body plus a trash throwaway body,
Mm-hmm.
But anywho, all right. I think I'm still on C- on it, but I could be wrong. Alex, what do you think?
Maybe I did the Grenadine Rescue card on turn 2 into this on turn 3 and attacking with a 5/5 too many times for me to be a C- on it. Like, it really shines in the Stone Scar deck. I'm at a C, solid C.
Okay, fair enough. C for Ritual Dagger. Next up is Rune Binder. It is a 1/1 elf mage for 3 shadow. Deadly, lifesteal. Contract 2, deal 2 damage to the enemy player. Like the other one had unblockable. No, it doesn't have. I think it comes up the board, but you paid 3 for it. The 2 that you gain off of hitting your opponent is okay, but it's not great.
It's really a 4-point swing, right?
Yeah.
This card's actually proven to be okay. I don't want too many of them, but just one,
yeah,
I think is a C.
Yeah, I'm okay with the C. I think that's fine. John?
Yeah, I agree.
All right. C for Rune Binder. I think that's fair. Tensky Saboteur is a 2/1 rogue for 3 shadow. Revenge. When Tensky Saboteur attacks the enemy player, discards the top 2 cards of their deck. Like, I give this thing credit only because of Revenge, and even then, I don't think it's that good. I don't know, John, have you seen this thing do anything spectacular?
Yeah, it's been played against me and annoyed the crap out of me. It's like, it's just RNG, but it like milled all my power every time it swung, and all I was trying to do was like get 1 more power, and then I'd be fine, kind of thing.
Oh no!
So
It's the Wretched Raven effect on. Oh, you've been hanging out with me too long, dude. Oh no!
Like, and it's a revenge guy. Like, I think it's fine. Like a C- or something is okay with me.
I'm good with a C-. I'm good with that. Alex?
It plays really well with Inseparable. Like, I do like it. There are some cards that I like it, but it's not great. C-.
All right, C- for Tensky Saboteur. Next up, Arrowman. Arrowman. Arrowmane. There we go. Arrowmane, the Punishing. Is a 4/3 hero, radiant and uncommon for 4 shadow. At the end of the enemy turn, deal 1 damage to them for each card they drew. So this is the flip side to Namora. There we go. I got it. I got there.
Namora.
John, talk to us about Arrowman.
Yeah, I like this one a little better than the other one. I think it's like if you can just gum up the game and they don't have the opposite, like that'll just drain them once a turn. Like that's a nice effect to have just in play. And it's like kind of aggressively statted, so like if it can also attack, it can bring their life total down quick in like an aggressive deck. I think it's fine, like maybe like a C+.
Yeah, I like C+ for it as well. There's quite a few ways to kill an X3, but it's solid. Like you said, it gives you inevitability, and I like that. And it punishes them for drawing more cards to find an answer. So I dig it. Alex?
John has a good way of hitting the nail on the head.
Awesome. So C plus for Arrowman the Punishing. Next up, Eavesdrop is a 4-shadow spell. Inscribe. The enemy player discards 2 cards of their choice from their hand, then you steal their void. I don't know how I feel about this card, so I'll let one of you guys talk about it. Alex, you can take it.
So, I mean, I want to give it a B minus, but that's crazy. It's a C plus. It's great for the shadow decks. It's great for splashing shadow. You don't mind having like 2 or 3 of them even. Inscribe for the win. C plus.
Man, I'm gonna do so bad in this format. My ratings are so off from you guys. Go ahead, John.
Hey, you'll get there. Like, I agree with Alex completely. Like, I kind of, I could see this even being a B minus, like he was saying, but it's so hard to rate. It's like a mind rot effect from Magic or whatever. But I mean, the downside is literally this is a power, right? If you have a few of them in your deck, that's fine. Like, you play the first one for power, and like the best time to do this is when the opponent is down to just 2 cards usually. But it sometimes you can do one early, and then that helps you make the next one even more effective. It can, like I said earlier, alongside that cat, running this can just really devastate your opponent's game plan. People keep their opening hands with a plan in mind, right? They mulligan for something that they like, and this just completely wrecks their plan. Like, if they have to discard power, maybe they don't draw it. Sometimes they have to discard their removal or their bomb. Like, it's quite good. It's just 2 for 1 just on a card straight up, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, downside is it's a power. It's good.
All right, fair enough. C plus for Eavesdrop. Next up, here we go. Soul Feast is a 4-shadow fast spell. Lifesteal, deal 3 damage to absolutely anybody and anything at 5 speed with some sick artwork. This card is a solid B to me. It trades down, so B minus. I'll go B minus with Soul Feast. You are paying 4 for the effect, but you can get 2 for 1s, and it's a 6-point life swing. I like it. B minus for Soul Feast. Alex?
Like a little bit lower. I think this is a good removal. It's a little bit hard to cast with the double shadow. I'm at a C plus.
Okay, John?
Yeah, I agree with Alex. It just, for 4 power, I wish it did a little more, but like, the fact that it has lifesteal really makes it very playable, and something I do pick kind of highly. But you can only run so many of these in your deck, and still get there. But the fact that it's fast opens up some additional ways to use it and things like that. So yeah, C plus is how I'd rate it.
All right, C plus for Soul Feast. Next up, I have not even seen this card. Oh, wait, yeah, I have. Okay, never mind. I just don't recognize the name or the artwork. Fair enough. Inseparable is a 5-shadow spell. Draw 2 units from your void. Each hero drawn this way gets a +2/+2. I like this card. It's a little slow, it's a little clunky, but you get 2 cards back that you get to choose that presumably your opponent killed because they were good. So I like it. It is expensive. It being 5 means you probably can't play one of the units you're grabbing on the same turn unless things have gone horribly wrong and the game has gone extremely late. That's probably why they didn't do it at fast speed. I still like this card. It would be awesome if it had Inscribe, but I think that would make it too broken. So I'm going to give this card a C plus. C plus from the Jedi. John?
I think it's just too slow in an average deck. If you're behind, this certainly doesn't help you. I think it shines in a deck with Revenge and early Revenge because
That's what I was about to ask you. Yep.
yeah,
Okay, continue.
once your Revenge unit has Destiny and is in your void, drawing it just puts it into play and you draw a card, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like extra good there, but that's like, that it has to have gone in your deck, come out and died again, right? So that's like a pretty late game thing. So I think it can only shine in the most like late game oriented decks. and it's just too slow to be playable all the time. So I think it's more like a C.
Okay, Alex.
I mean, it's very good in a grindy game, which is what a lot of the games kind of are. So I'm at a C plus on it.
All right, C plus for Inseparable. Cabal Embezzler is next. This is a 3/4 rogue for 6 double shadow. Unblockable. Contract 3, give another unit 3 strength and unblockable this turn. This card is great when you have some lifesteal on the board, or if you're just need a couple more points to get your opponent dead. I'm not slamming as many of these as I can because it is 6 for a 3/4, but it is unblockable itself, so that's kind of sweet as well. I like this card, but I think it's just a C. Yeah, I think I'm okay with the C. It can win you the game, both by pumping another unit or by itself getting in there, but it is still 6 with no insurance policy on it. So, yeah, I think this is a solid C. Alex?
I'm at a C plus.
Okay.
I think a little bit
Anything
better.
you... Okay.
No, it's just it's a really great finisher, and then 3 damage on its own. Like by the time you're playing this, like your opponent's pretty close to dead. Leaves a pretty meaty unblockable body coming over still after, So I like it at a C plus.
The issue I have with it is that if you're behind, this card really doesn't do that much because pumping the unit to attack doesn't really help, and then a 3/4 that you paid 6 for can't block all that well. But I can see where you're coming from, John.
No, I think a 3/4 does block okay. So I mean, it's still kind of okay in those situations. Like you're sad, obviously, but no, this thing can really help you close out a game. It's a C plus for me.
Okay, C plus for Cabal Embezzler. Next up, Midnight Hunter is a 3/2 bat for 6 shadow. Flying. Summon, you may sacrifice another unit to kill an enemy unit. Man, I really like this card, and I'm going to be higher on it than you guys, but I just like the fact that this thing can trade in a 2/2 that's not doing anything for a kill spell, and then it's an evasive unit on itself. So I'm going to give this card a B-. I know I'm probably wrong, but I'm going to give it a B-. I like this card a lot, and I don't think it's too difficult to find something you're willing to sack to get their best unit off the board. So yeah, that's where I'm at. John?
Probably like a C plus. I think it's right there with the Embezzler we just talked about. It's a little slower, right? Like if you're trying to race, Embezzler helps you kind of close out that game faster, whereas this one you lose one of your potential attackers in the process, and like a 3/2 is that's kind of anemic, honestly. It's easy to deal with. So it's less reliable as an evasive threat than the Embezzler, but the fact that it killed something on summon is still pretty good. So yeah, it's a C plus. It's fighting for that exact same slot.
Okay, all right on. Alex?
C plus. Yeah, like I was thinking when we were doing the Cabal Embezzler, I just looked at the card over. I'm like, oh, that's also a C plus. Yep.
All right, C plus for Midnight Hunter. And our final shadow card is Vermin's Feast. This is a 6 double shadow fast spell uncommon, inscribe, and then it reads swap the strength and health of one unit with the strength and health of another unit. Of course, it doesn't say who is the owner of these units, so they could both be your units, they could both be your opponent's units, they could be one of your opponents and one of yours. And it's a fast spell, so you could do it mid blocks. This card, initially, I wasn't going to like this card until I saw that it had Inscribe, and I think this card is pretty solid. I'm not quite sure what to give it. Most of the time, it's probably going to end up being a removal spell, but 6 is a lot. But once again, it's got Inscribe. So, yeah, I mean, turning your 2/2 into your opponent's 5/5 in mid-combat is kind of sweet. That's probably worth a card. So, I don't know. What do you think, John?
I think it has a lot of competition in Shadow Inscribe, like the hand disruption we just talked about and Call the Hit are, that's a hotly contested slot, but I do like this card, and it can do some just hilarious things. Like I've had a 7/7 reckless. What is it? The cyber hyena before? Like, oh my gosh, this is a fun one, but 6 is a lot, and it requires a specific board state to shine. So I don't want to rate it as highly. I think for it's an like this is like an inscribed card because it's like situational, right? It's not like a spell that you're just like windmill slamming. So it's directly comparable to eavesdrop, I think, for slots in your deck, and I don't want to rate it quite as high as eavesdrop. So if that's a C plus, this is a C, I guess, for me.
Okay. C for Vermin's Feast from John. Alex, what about you?
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys.
All right.
C.
Fair enough. C for Vermin's Feast. All right. That will do it with Shadow. So that's super cool. I think Shadow looks fairly well balanced. All right. Next up is the multi-faction. So we're almost there. Home stretch. First, let's talk about a cycle of power we're getting in this format. This is the tome cycle. It is, the I don't even know if we have friendly or enemy colors, but whatever. I don't have them all up on my screen, so I guess I guess I could type it real quick just so I could say which ones. Let me do that so it's thorough. So at least we're accurate. There's the Praxis, the Stone Scar, the Combre, the Huru, and the Feln tomes, and they all are similar in the faction in respects to their faction. So Praxis Tome gets you gain a fire and time influence, and then is depleted on your first 3 turns of the game. So it's not going to give you fast power, but later in the game it is going to come into play undepleted, which is typically where you want your splash colors. So I don't think it's horrible. I think these cards are probably... are we splashing a lot in this format? I don't know. This is like a C-, D+, right? Where are you guys at on it? Because, I mean, you guys are splashing with the inscribed cards, right? But I guess this also facilitates a little bit of power smoothing, right? I guess. So, I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes you're in a deck where you have a powerful, 4 pip card that's like your 3 or 4 drop, right? And like in those cases, you prioritize these tomes a little higher. But generally speaking, I do often play like 2 factions and a splash in this format. But yeah, like with all the inscribed, that kind of gets the job done. So I don't like the need to prioritize these in your average deck in the format isn't really there, I don't think. They're fine, right? Like, and if it's between a single pip on color tome and like basically no other cards you're going to play, I'd always take the tome, right? Just for if in case I want to splash some kind of card to pick up in a future pack or something. But yeah, you're not really prioritizing these like on average, so they're fine. Obviously, two pips from 1 power is always good, even in draft. But we're evaluating them in the format as it is. So yeah, like C-, D+, I think is fair, like for pick order.
Okay, Alex, anything to add?
No, I like him at C-.
Okay. C- for the tome cycle. Fair enough. All right. Our first true multi-faction card is Ramba's Challenge. This is a 3 Praxis spell at uncommon. Give a unit +3 strength and invulnerable to damage this turn. Invoke Praxis. I thought this card was good until I saw that it was a spell, so you couldn't do it in mid-combat as a combat trick. I mean, you could still get in there, but they just chump block it or let it through. But it has Winvoke. So, I don't know. What are we putting the Winvokes at, John? Are they C+, B-?
I think they vary for sure. Like, I don't think you can just rate them all the same. Some of them are just, this one is basically just a Winvoke, right?
Yeah.
Whereas some of them are like good spells and a Winvoke.
Yeah, true story. Yeah.
So,
all right, fair.
I think this one shines when you have like overwhelm units. So that helps you like push like a significant amount of damage with the spell part. The Winvoke is always sweet. Worst case, you find a card, and it is nice that you can find these like inscribed cards with Winvokings now. So sometimes you can Winvoke a power, right? So that's like a nice little addition to that ability. And yeah, sometimes you just get something completely busted. These are able to, like, I think you're guaranteed one of each faction, and then the third one can be a repeat of like the first or the second faction, and we've seen him now. By playing him enough, you can totally get Praxis cards, multi-faction cards from these as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me clarify too. I apologize. Some people have not seen Invoke. Okay, so Invoke, when you play the card, the game will offer you 3 options randomly to within its respective factions to choose from, and each one is going to be a unit, a spell, and an attachment. It's always going to be those 3 options, one of each, if I explained that correctly. So you're always going to have 3 options, but there can only be 1 unit, 1 spell, and 1 attachment. Is
be like 2 red things or 2 yellow things, right? And one of the
correct.
Other.
Okay. Yep. And then it is supposed to be any card that is inside the format. There have been some bugs where sometimes you get it, but it looks like they fixed that. But yeah, rarity is out the window. So you can get a common or you can get a legendary. It does not matter. So that's Invoke. Sorry for not clarifying that sooner.
And you do need to have the ability to cast it, like, influence-wise. So watch out for that. Don't look at some crazy legendary and you're like, oh, I have, the 7 mana or whatever, 7 power available. And then, like, you get it in your hand and it's like 4 pips and you only have 1. It's like, oh, you're never playing this card. So watch out for that. But yeah, like, I think this one's good. It honestly doesn't necessarily pull me into Praxis usually because the front side of the spell is
pretty medium.
Yeah, it's medium. Like, if you're already in Praxis, you're slamming these, I think. So I don't know, maybe like a C+ for this one.
Yeah, I'm good with a C+. I'm fine with that. Alex?
It's probably like one of my least favorite of these cards. I mean, it works really good with the 3/1 monk on turn 3, but it's C+.
All right, C+ for Ramba's challenge. Next up is Graviturgist. This is a 1/4 mage for 4 Praxis. Flying, Endurance, Contract 3, give Graviturgist +3 strength and charge this turn. So John, I've gotten by this card, or not this card, but this kind of wording before. This one, both of those effects are just this turn, right? Or is it gets the +3 and then you have charge for this turn?
Yeah, both effects are just for the turn.
Okay, because there have been some where I thought I've read them like that, and then it's only one. Okay,
yeah, cool. I've seen this one in play for sure.
Yeah, I like this card. I think a 1/4 flyer blocks a lot with endurance. You can wear his equipment well, and then sometimes you could just get in there for some sweet damage. So I like this guy. I think he's probably a C+. Alex, what do you think?
I don't have much experience with this guy, so I'm just going to have to take your guys' word for it.
Okay, and John?
Yeah, he looks kind of unassuming, but having seen him in play, I could go for C+, like Jedi said. It really shines alongside the common 5-drop we talked about earlier, Calderon Captain, where it can boost this guy's attack power, make him like a 2/4 flying endurance. Like, that's really getting some work in at that point. But yeah, like, having like the endurance is really shines, right? Like, you can both be aggressive while not just losing to aggro yourself, like, so it helps you race in Praxis.
Can't be stunned.
There's a lot of competition though. Like, there's plenty of like similar time flyers like this, like some in the draft packs, and I think when Praxis is open in packs 1 and 4, these guys really tend to keep coming. So I don't take it highly, early in the pack and in the pack process and the picking process. But I'm cool with a C+ or a C.
All right, C+ for Graviturgist. Breach the defenses. Man, I don't know. We've given so many Bs around here now at this point. I really have no idea where to put Breach the defenses, but it is a fast spell for 2 Rakano. Deal 3 damage to an enemy or kill an enemy curse. I like this card. I mean, it trades up and it can go face. It's a good finisher. I like this card. I'm probably a B- with this card, honestly. I don't think the double influence is a big issue. You don't really want to play this on 2, but you can. I don't think it's horrible. Yeah, I like this card. I'm on B- for Breach the defenses. Alex, what about you?
Yeah, it's pretty solid removal. Give it a B-.
John?
I am cool with that grade. It's good.
B minus for Breach the Defenses. Next up, a similar card, but I'm gonna have to let you guys talk to it because I don't know. I think it's fine. This may just be a straight C. Censari Trident is a +3/+3 relic weapon at uncommon for 3 Recano. And that's it. That's all it says. 3/3 relic weapon for 3. John?
Yeah, I think it's a C.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Like,
fair enough.
It's fine. But it's just on par with any other 3/3 for 3 for the most part. Occasionally you might get a 2-for-1 out of it.
Yep. Yeah, C's are fine. They're the filler cards. Alex?
Yeah, occasional 2-for-1. I give it a C as well.
Okay. Next up, Free Fire. Man, I don't think I've seen this card. Holy cow. Yeah, artwork, the ability, nothing. Wow. Okay. Free Fire is a fast spell at uncommon for 4 Rakano. Give a unit +1 strength, quick draw, and lifesteal this turn. Winvoke Rakano. This one is a fast spell. It is 4, which is a lot. But man, do I like this card. +1, quick draw, lifesteal. You can do it. It's quick draw, so you want to do it when you're attacking. So it's not like you have to quote unquote leave up the power. Yeah, I like this card. I think this card is a B minus. John?
Yeah, it's definitely a B minus. Could even be approaching B territory, but like you just mentioned, it's really only good on attack, so it's not all the way flexible. Like quick draw doesn't work like first strike, obviously, in Eternal versus Magic. But yeah, this is a good one. 4 is like kind of a lot for an effect like this normally, but Winvoking is amazing.
Yeah, so technically what? You're probably paying the 2 for the +1 quick draw lifesteal and then 2 for the draw card. Yeah, I think it's fine. Alex?
Yeah, however you want to look at it, right? It's a darn good card. I give it a B minus.
All right, B minus for Free Fire. Next up, Frostburn is a 3 Skycrag spell at uncommon. Deal 2 damage to an enemy or 1 damage to 2 enemies. Winvoke Skycrag. Alex, what do you think?
I mean, I think I like this one just as much as the last one, pretty much. I like this at a B minus.
Okay. All right, John?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Maybe even slightly more. Like I could go as high as a B on this one. It's just a little bit more efficient. It's like it could even be a 3-for-1 sometimes. It's usually a 2-for-1. Yeah, it can go face. Love it.
All right, I'm on B minus. I don't quite think this is B territory, but I'm good with B minus. B minus for Frostburn. Next up, oh man, this one looks fantastic in premium. Holy cow. Twin Flame Brood is next. This is a 5 Skycrag Dragoon for 1/4 and has flying and double damage. I want to like this card. It's evasive, it's double damage, it has a 4 booty, so it's difficult to kill, but you're paying 5 for this. I have yet to see this thing in play. Is this thing just a D? John?
Man, I'm right there with you. I want to like this, but like for this to shine, like you want to play alongside Calderon Captain, which is another 5-drop. I wish this thing was like a 4 cost, like 1/3 or I mean I guess that's just better than the Rakano one then. But it's just so awkward at the 5 slot in the format. So yeah, I think it's like a D plus maybe.
I mean, the benefit is it comes down so late that maybe your opponent burned their removal before this thing comes down.
Without
But then
some
again,
help,
it's not a
it's
beater
still-
by itself
Yeah,
either.
Sorry.
So, Alex?
Not much to add, folks.
All right. D for Twin Flame Brood. This is not Mullet and Nikova. Next up, Stonebreaker Bow. My mistake. Stonebreaker Bow is a +2/+1 relic weapon at common for 2 Stone Scar. Overwhelm. Contract 2. Give Stonebreaker Bow +2 attack. This card is sweet. Man, I like this card. Kills 2 drops when you need it to. Kills occasional 3 drops. And then sometimes it can get those sweet 4/5s, and shoot, if you're talking about that Griffin, it can kill 7-drop. You getting it any kind of recursion makes this thing even sweeter. I like this card. I think it's very efficient. Probably, I mean, it is a weapon. So is it a C plus or a B minus, John?
What did we rate Breach? Was that a B minus?
I think Breach.
I think
What was
a few cards ago? The Breach the defenses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was B minus.
B
Yeah.
minus.
B minus, right? I think that's fair for this card. It looks maybe a little innocuous, but man, like if you're in Stone Scar, you could run like 4 of these and just be loving it.
Yeah.
It's just so flexible. It kills Aegis units, which Breach does not.
Yeah.
And we talked way earlier in Red. There's that like Oni that gives double damage. So like if you have like a few of these in your deck and like a Deto cannon, like either of these are just great targets to get back and give double damage. That Overwhelm is sick. And while
you can also,
while it's on your face, you're like not just like your Searing Fists have Overwhelm then too, so it has a little extra synergy there.
Yep. Sweet. Yeah. All right. Alex, anything to add? Fair enough. So a B minus for Stonebreaker Bow. I like that card. Next up is Wrong Turn. This is a 4 Stone Scar spell at uncommon. The enemy player chooses and sacrifices a unit, relic, or site. Invoke Stone Scar. They get to choose, and they have 3, I mean technically 2 options. You're really not going to see a site. So they have 2 options to choose. You still get to Winvoke. It's a slow spell, so you can't even do it. Like, I don't know. I think this is starting to air somewhere on C. Yeah, I think this is still a C, even with the Winvoke for me. John, what do you think?
No, there's no way this is worse than the Rhombos challenge one. I think it's fine at a C plus.
Oh yeah, fair. Good point. All right. Yeah. Okay. You're still getting a okay. C plus. Alex.
Yeah,
what do you think?
agreed. C plus. It has Winvoke, and I like it more than the Ramba.
Plus, I mean, shadow Winvoking is always the best Winvoke, right? You get some busted things out of Shadow, so fair enough. All right. So C plus for Wrong Turn. Next up is Alessi's Choice. This is a 2 Combre spell at uncommon. Kill an enemy unit with 4 strength or more, or kill an enemy relic with cost 4 or more. So this thing's for like a... Oh, it's not Vanquish. Well, yeah, it is Vanquish. Yeah. So this card seems sweet to me. I like it. I like it quite a bit. I think it's a B minus? I think it's a B minus. It's got some flexibility, but I don't really think there's relics that you really care about. I think it's more so just going to kill their biggest thing, which is pretty sweet. So yeah, I like B minus for Alessi's Choice. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's like a Vanquish. It's pretty solid. B minus.
John?
I agree. I think if it was 1 pip instead of 2 different ones, maybe it would be a B. Or if it could hit 3 cost relics, that would come up just a little bit more even. Yeah, I think B minus is fair for this card.
All right, B minus for Alessi's Choice. Next up, Dive Bomber. This is a 2/3 flying bird for 3 Combre. Pay 3 and sacrifice Dive Bomber, so 6 total plus a card, to kill an enemy unit with 5 health or more. I want to like this card, but I feel like I've heard a lot of people be poo-pooing it on it. So what's up? Talk to me, Alex. Where we at on Dive Bomber?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a 2/3 flyer for 3. That's not ever really too bad for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I give it a C plus.
Okay, John?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it feels kind of bad when you're like beating down the air but then your ground game doesn't show up and you're gonna lose the race because of their big ground dudes. Like, it feels bad to sacrifice this, but sometimes that's what you need to do, and that just makes this evasive beater like a little more flexible than it otherwise would be. Like, yeah, it just feels kind of bad, but I mean, you do what you got to do sometimes. I think it's good. C plus is fair.
Yep, C plus for Dimer. That's where I'm at for exactly that reason. All right, next up, Pull from Duty. This is do we know these characters, or are they just random people?
Not sure who they are, honestly.
Yeah, it kind of feels like they want to be like specific. Oh, I guess heroes is the correct term, but I don't quite recognize them either.
Like, that's not Caleb,
Oh,
is it? In
no,
these
that's definitely
colors, no
not
way,
Caleb.
right?
No, that's definitely not Caleb. But you know what? The female reminds me of one of the tri-faction people from Zolta. I think either the creation one or no, the tradition one is the dude that gives you armor. You know who I'm thinking about, right? I think she has kind of, I mean, this one doesn't have dreads, but I don't know. Whatever, I digress. Anywho, Pull from Duty is a 3 Combre fast spell at uncommon. Put one of your units into your hand and give it +1/+1 and then Winvoke Combre. Man, like, it saves your unit, right? That's typically what you want to use this for. But then sometimes you're like, well, I mean, I kind of just want my Winvoke, so maybe I don't wait to save my unit. And then if it's too expensive, you got to play it again for a +1/+1. I don't know. Like, eh? I think this is just a solid C plus because of the Winvoke.
Yep. I
Not much
agree.
crap. Perfect.
All right, cool. C plus from Pull from Duty. There's a little bit of tension there, but whatever. Winvoke. Open Your Eyes is a uncommon spell for 3 Elysian. Transform a unit into a random unit that costs 2 more. Gain life equal to the new unit's health. I mean, what do you call these cards?
Random?
Fun and G? No, what do you call it? Oh,
Fun
gosh.
stable?
Fun stable. Oh, that's why. Fun stable. That's right. Yeah. I don't like these cards. I don't like these cards. You know what this gives me? This like upgrades me to like the hey, this thing's health is equal to your influence and a color you don't have. Gets pooped on Jedi. I don't, or like a 5/2. Yeah, no, I don't like this card. I think this card's a. I'm not gonna say D because some people think it's fun and you get to upgrade like a 6 cost to an 8 cost. Whatever. So D for me. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I haven't really like. I keep cutting it when I'm in Elysian. Like, I just haven't tried it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know more about like the potential hits and stuff. Like, I see it being good alongside like if your inscribed cards are like Jotun Spellhammers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a power or a 6-drop, and then because it has Aegis, when you go to cast this, they can't just kill it in response, right? Because of the Aegis. So like, I think like that's a good match, but I just don't know what the 8 cost pool looks like, and if that's like always good or you know what I mean. Like I just don't have experience with this card yet. I keep cutting it, so D plus C minus for now. Like maybe I'll come up on it as the form as I try it out, but
Mm-hmm. Alex, what do you think?
I'm at C minus. It's going to gain you a little bit of life. Trying to high roll something, but it's so random. Yeah, I can't give it higher than it. Maybe it is just a D plus. D plus.
All right. D plus for Open Your Eyes. Next up, Targov's Wares is a 3 Elysian spell. Draw 2 cards, then discard a card and gain 2 life. This card is fine. I mean, you're not up a card. You're even. It's just card filtering, but you gain 2 life and you can turn a 2 power. Wait. Draw 2 cards and yeah. You could pitch a power in this, right? Yeah, I think it's fine. Solid C here for me for Targov's Wares. I mean, it's just card filtering later in the game, or if you really need that power early in the game, you could pitch your like 7-drop, which I don't think you'll even do because your 7-drop probably has inscribe. So whatever. C. John?
yeah, I don't really like this card very much. I honestly, anytime I draft it, I haven't played it. I keep cutting it. It's probably like D plus for me.
Okay. Alex?
Like I want to like this card, but I think I agree with John. D plus.
Okay. D plus for Targov's Wares. Kurox's Hunt is it Kurox or Xerox? It's Kurox, right? Because it's not a copy machine? Okay, cool. Kurox Hunt is a 4 Elysian spell at uncommon. Give a unit killer Winvoke Elysian. Man, paying 4 at slow speed for killer is kinda rough. Holy cow, we're paying 3 for the Winvoke on this thing, and it's Elysian? don't know, Alex. What do you think? I don't like this one.
I like it.
Geez, that was about as sultry as you can get. Holy cow. So C plus?
Yeah, C plus. It's not worse than Rhombus, right? No way.
No way.
I mean,
plus
Rambas
is fine.
upgrades a unit, I guess, for a turn. Oh, all right.
Yeah,
You
this
can get
kills
that. You can get
something.
the 6-drop relic off of it, which I've done.
What, your opponents can't play more than one spell a turn, and you gain a
No,
life every time you draw a
Expedition
card?
Gear.
Expedition Gear. I keep forgetting the name of it. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, fair. John, where are you at on it?
Yeah, I think C plus is fair. Like, it's another Windvoke where you have to already have a unit in play, so you can't just like play it. I think do they all require that? I don't
Yeah,
think
they all
so.
require
No,
a unit. Yeah.
no, like this next one.
Oh,
requires an
the
enemy unit,
Stone Scar one. Yeah, the
requires
Stone
a unit in your void. I guess they all require some kind of unit somewhere. No, the Stone Scar one doesn't. Yeah, so, but yeah, 4 flow. Like the effect's fine. Like giving a unit killer can be amazing, with like
especially on a revenge unit.
the kind of units that want that. But I think it's fine. C plus, or I could even go B minus on this one, but I think it's probably C plus.
Yeah, I think it's C plus. I think that's fine. Indifference. 1 Xenon. Fast spell. Choose one of your units. It can't die this turn. I think this is fine. I think it's just it's 1, right? 1 is very easy to leave up, and it stops everything. It doesn't care about damage. It doesn't care about deadly. It doesn't care about kill, sacrifice. Well, I guess sacrifice is a little different. Well, maybe not.
No,
it does.
Sacrifice if it can't.
So this card's great. I like this card. I think it's just a C though, right?
Yeah.
I think a card like this would standard come in at C minus, but the fact that it's 1 and that it prevents the unit from dying in every which way possible, I think that's a C worthy.
Yeah, there's definitely some board states and game situations where it really isn't doing anything though.
Yeah, for sure.
so
It's phenomenal on a double block or a triple block. Huh?
Yeah, well, you can't really go higher than a C because it has it definitely has a low floor. So
yeah. All right, I'm good with
It's fine.
C. Alex?
You guys talked me up from C minus. Sure, C.
Yeah, I think a C is good. 1 is so easy to leave up, and it's so easy to and then the fact that Xenon, I don't think people are going to be playing around it because it's not going to be as common, right? I could be wrong though. Maybe they do. I don't know. Okay, next up, Midnight Disappearance is a 5 Xenon spell at uncommon. Put an enemy unit into its owner's hand. It gets -2/-1. Winvoke Xenon. I'm not quite sure. Like, it's a bounce spell, so even if the -2/-1 doesn't kill the unit, it still is a tempo play and gives you time to play your Winvoke card. Sometimes it just kills the thing, but then they could use it to like discard, so it's not. And it's 5. This one's a C plus, right?
I think they're all at least C pluses. Maybe this one is a C.
You think this one's a B minus?
No.
Okay.
C plus. Sorry, C plus C. Sorry, it's getting late and I'm tired.
No, you're good. We're almost done, man. Home stretch, brother. I appreciate you sticking to it. John, what about you? I heard some sounds from you.
Let's keep this one in the C plus category. Like, if it was a little cheaper, like 4 like the others, I think I'd like it even more.
Yeah,
C plus is fine.
Yeah, there's some dial twisting on this one for sure. The knobs were C plus for Midnight Disappearance. Next up is Bless the Wild. This is a 1 Huru fastball at uncommon. Give a unit +1/+1. Contract 2, negate a spell played directly on that unit. This is an interesting little card. I think a C. I think it's a C. The +1/+1 isn't that broken, so you're not kind of like all upside on this card, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the fact that you can leave up 1 and still get the negate a spell makes it pretty sweet. Maybe that's why this is a C versus a C minus. I guess the real strength of this card is when you save a unit from dying from a spell, and then it's kind of a little bit better for it because of that interaction, right? The awkward thing about this is if the +1/+1 is going to save your unit from combat, you know, you have to play it, and then you won't be able to contract and negate the spell, and the spell has to be played directly on this. So it's not like you can 2-for-1 them, putting the +1/+1 on another unit and then negating a spell on a different unit. So, and I think that's why it says specifically directly on that unit. So I think I'm okay with a C for Bless the Wild, John.
Yeah, C sounds great. Like I'd rather play Find the Moment, I think, every time, because like
Yeah.
one of the better things to counter is basically Chloric, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Find the Moment pushes so much more damage when you're doing that. But yeah, holding up 1 is makes this definitely playable. He's fine.
Yeah, I think this card goes up in value if you have 1 or 2 units that you really don't want to die, but Alex?
Not much to add. It's a pretty neat card, though. I'll give it a C.
C for Bless the Wild. Yeah, we're almost there, man. Home stretch. Sweet. Disarm is a 3 Huru fast spell at common. Kill an attacking enemy unit. Like this card. I think it's B. The unit has to attack, so I will say that. But the fact that, and it's 3 is right on the precipice. I think anything more than that would probably bring it down a grade. But man, that's about as not generic. What's the word I'm looking for? Like it's not, huh?
Unconditional?
Yes, thank you. Unconditional removal. I don't know why I was thinking unhindered.
That's close.
Yeah, I think that's about close. So I like a solid B. It is 2 colors, but whatever. I mean, it's solid removal. So B for Disarm for me. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I agree with that. As far as like early picks, like sometimes this is like I've definitely first picked this card. Just nothing else like better, and I think it's been fine. I mean it Chloric kills basically all the same things, mostly, but this doesn't hit relic weapons, so like, I definitely like to have some of each, right, if I'm in Huru. But yeah, like this one doesn't care how big it gets, which is nice.
Yeah, very good point. Alex, anything to add about Disarm?
Not much to add. Just a solid removal.
All right, B for Disarm. Icy Hold is next. This is 4 Huru for fast spell uncommon. Silence and stun a unit. Invoke Huru. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I love this card. I think it's it's on par with all of these cards. This is pretty much, I mean, like, not removal, but like you're going to get such a good card with the green or blue Invoke that this one push it into the B for me. I like it at B-.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I like it too. Silence sometimes does kill a unit, and the stun buys you time. You can do it EOT at your opponent's end of turn and then still play the Winvoke right after, so I like that a lot. John?
Yeah, I could even go as high as B for this one. I really like this one.
Ooh, wow. All right, so B- for Icy Hold. Next up, Unseen Marksman Ninja. 3/3 Unseen for 2 Argenport. Contract 3, give an enemy unit -1 health. This is permanent, period. So that's kind of sweet. It is not a curse though, so it won't trigger certain attachment things, but it is permanent. So it stops those pesky 1/1s from revenging and things like that. This card is sweet. You're getting a 2/2. I mean, at the very least, you're getting 3/3 for 2. I think this card a lot. I think this card is a solid C+ for me. John?
Yeah, this is like basically the best 2-drop they put in this set, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
It's still just a 2-drop, but like, yeah, it's like you don't mind running it out just as a, if you're on the play, right? A 3/3 beater getting the game started is pretty legit. And then, yeah, like a few turns later, maybe it can do that while killing something when you play it.
Oh my gosh, I don't know why, but I want that on like a bumper sticker or a shirt. 3/3, play it 3/3. Let's get this party started.
3/3 for 2. That's like 1 turn early. Let's go.
And it kills deadly units. Typically, so I like it. Yeah. You said, what was your grade?
I didn't say. Man, I could even say like B minus for this, but like C plus is fine too.
Okay, let's see what Alex says.
I mean, I was gonna say I was wondering if you guys could do a B minus on this because it's just so good. If I'm in that color pairing, I want as many of those as I can have. Yeah, 3 for 2. I love a 3 for 2. So it's B minus for me.
All right, B minus for Unseen Marksman. 3 for 2. Let's get this party started.
Let's go.
Stolen Augmentation is a 3 Argent Port fast spell uncommon. Give one of your units +1/+1 and an enemy unit -1/-1. Winvoke Argent Port. This card's solid. B minus. It's gonna win combat. Yeah, I like this card a lot. B minus for me. Alex?
I'm like, so this one's like pushing A for me. This is like a B plus because it's like a 3 for 1. A lot of times, you can potentially kill a different unit with the -1/-1, win combat with the comp bonus, and then you're getting the Winvoke. I love this card. B plus or A minus.
Argent Port.
A minus strong. Sorry.
Argent Port Winvoke is pretty strong too. John?
Yeah, like B plus is. I have trouble pushing into A with this, but maybe B plus. Like this one's by far better than all the others we've seen so far. Like Alex said, like I've played it too. I've gotten a 3 for 1 with it.
All right, fair enough.
Legit.
B plus for Stolen Augmentation. God, man, these set reviews always make me want to draft. I get so stoked.
Right.
Next up, Bog Fumes is a 1 felon spell. Give a unit -1/-1. If it has flying, give it -4/-4 instead. I mean, it costs 1, and it pretty much kills just about every flyer. I can't think of a flyer off the top of my head it doesn't kill minus the 1/5 Tower Watch Patrol thing or whatever. But as far as in this format, kills pretty much everything. And then, paying 1 to -1/-1 something, kill something. I think it's fine. See, yeah, it's 2 colors. I think it's a C. Could be a C plus. No, I think it's still C. I'm on C for Bog Fumes. John?
Yeah, I think C's fair. Like some people are playing, things like Ensnare. Like flying is definitely popular in this format. So being extra flyer hate that is way, it's like less situational than it could be. Although I do think like if you're in Primal, Rule the Skies goes even a little bigger on both ends and it can go face. So like,
yeah,
I kind of like that a little better.
And it's fast speed.
Yeah, it's fast. This one's slow, but this one is a permanent stat debuff. So I think both has their kind of times to shine, but I think C's fair for this one.
John or Alex?
Yeah, it's like the thing that gets rid of a flyer guaranteed that is also we can use it situationally somehow in another way. So yeah, I like it as a C.
All right, C for Bog Fumes. Almost there, guys. Almost there. Sweet Dreams. What an ironic card this late at night. Sweet Dreams is a 5 felon fast spell for uncommon. Play a unit with cost 3 or less from your void and give it +2 health. Winvoke Feln. It's kind of situational. I keep wanting this card to play better than it does, but it's kind of mediocre, honestly. It's difficult to really get your values worth off the ambush because it is a unit 3 cost or less. I don't know. What do you think, John?
I like this one a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as easy to get a 3 for 1 as the Argent Port one, but it's almost, it's like it's more often a 3 for 2. But yeah, I've gotten 3 for 1s off this one too. 5 is obviously a little more pricey, so I don't want to say B plus for this one, but I think B. This one's a B for me.
Okay, I could do B. I'm fine with that. Alex?
Yeah, if your opponent leaves 5 up in this color, beware, because they very well might have this. It's you can kind of get someone with it. That's what I like about it. So yeah, it's a solid B for me as well.
All right, B for Sweet Dreams. And the last card, our factionless card, is Volunteer Corpse. This is a 2. That's it. Just 2 faction. Valkyrie at uncommon. 0/2. Contract 2. Draw a sigil of your choice from your deck. Draw it. Don't play it. Just draw it. Ultimate, pay 6 to give Volunteer Core flying and +1 strength for each type of influence you have. So right now in the format, most cases, this is going to be a 3/2 flyer for quote unquote 8, maybe even 10. Once again, I think we're fixing with inscribe cards. So this card seems pretty mediocre to me. Probably a D, even though the artwork's kind of sweet. John?
Yeah, like if your deck, if you're definitely playing 3 colors and you didn't quite get there on fixing, or like the inscribe on your splash color, like I've played this card more than I ever thought I would already. I don't think it's good or anything, but like sometimes you get there with it helps you play your cards. The contract turns out it doesn't play as awkward as it looks. But the pace 6 is that doesn't happen all that often, but yeah, I think if your deck needs this, you'll play it. But as just a card, like I don't think you ever want to play this in a 2-faction deck, right? So like D or D plus is probably fair enough for me.
All right, fair enough. So yeah, all right. I can go D plus. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, it's like if you need this card, you'll know it. You'll be pretty hard up on fixing. I'm on a D plus as well.
All right, D plus for Volunteer Corps, and that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the Cold Hunt Commons and Uncommon set review from EternalJourney. Hope you guys stuck through it. I think we're sitting at just about 3.5 hours, which is on par for us. So good job, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. Of course, we're going to cut the show here because this is all we do since these typically run long. But we will come back next week with our rare and legendary set review. So tune in for that one. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Again, you can catch the video version of this on YouTube, where I have every card up on screen if you'd like to follow along that way. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, as always, happy gaming.
You said hype.
Good luck in your draft keys, everyone. Good night.